We have fixed it. This is the Landlord Advocates, where we help landlords become better landlords. I'm your host, Matthew Lyman. Welcome. We apologize for any delay that we have had, but we have learned this new program, and as we are learning it, we have a few mistakes as we go along. We apologize for that. We forgot to hit the one button that made you all aware of here we are. Hello. Thank you for joining. We have a jam-packed calendar for today, a jam-packed event. We're going to talk about moratoriums. We're going to talk about the rent relief program, the declaration of hardship, the warranty of habitability as it relates to landlord-tenant eviction cases. We're going to talk about the issues that have faced us landlords over the months where we have not been able to evict tenants at all because of government oppression and government extortions. Some may say, oh, no, that's not really it. Well, we are telling you that it is. We have all been oppressed. We have some guests backstage who we will be bringing on momentarily, who are going to be sharing some of their stories and some of their ideas. And they are going to be also commenting and answering some questions that you may have. But let's talk about the moratorium. The moratorium has been going on now for months and months and months. It started in March of 2020 here in New York, and it was supposed to end 90 days later. Then it was extended for another 2 months, and now it's been extended even farther. It was supposed to end December 28th, then they extended it to May 1st. Then from May 1st, it was extended until August 31st, 2020. How much longer will they continue doing this? When New York and America is opening up widely, businesses are coming back, stadiums are open, gyms are open. Why, therefore, are they still not allowing us to evict tenants? This moratorium is nothing but oppression by the government upon landlords to stop us from evicting tenants who are either destroying our property or not paying rent for months on end, or both. And they're doing it boldly, emboldened, with an attitude thinking that they can do anything that they want, and that's exactly what they are doing. Now, when we think about this declaration of hardship, most of you have seen it. As you know, your tenant must receive it when you want to do an eviction. Any document that you give to your tenant to say you need to move, you need to pay, has to have this declaration of hardship. Basically, when they sign it, there is no eviction. Unless, of course, you have safety or they're creating a nuisance for the other tenants in the building or the neighbors. But then again, when you take that type of case to court, it could be months before you get them out. Or you would have to have so much evidence to prove that they're doing all of this that you may not win at all. And for the non-payment, those cases are put aside until September. Now, here's the issue that we have saved for this channel, for this video today. With the declaration of hardship, must be given a paperwork that has a state seal on it. The state seal must be given to your tenant. With that, it says, when they sign the declaration of hardship, there will be no evictions until after August 31st, 2021. You cannot be evicted. But why is it that the state of New York has said that if your tenant signs this declaration, you cannot even file for an eviction in court? Why? Why? When you file for the eviction, you're not getting the eviction. You're getting a court date. When you get into court, and the court rules in your favor, it doesn't mean you have the eviction now. It means that you can get the sheriff to come and remove the tenant. And that process is 3 to 4 weeks. And at that time, when the sheriff gives them the notice, they're still not evicted. The eviction happens when the sheriff executes the warrant of eviction. So why, therefore, are we landlords prohibited from even filing an eviction until September 1st? If they sign this asinine, foolish, ridiculous declaration of hardship. Why? I'll tell you why. It's just another ability, another oppression by the government to not allow us to get the tenants out faster. They caught us early on doing holdover cases, suing in small claims court for money. They caught on to that. And when they did, then they closed the loopholes. Well, now they did that with this declaration of hardship. There have been lawsuits about that. The one that was filed in the Capital District of New York was dismissed by the Supreme Court in New York. There are other cases that are going to be filed, and we're going to talk about them later on in the broadcast, that you will be able to join in a class action lawsuit against the state. Again, we'll talk about that later on, and we may have one of our guests who will be joining us to talk more about that lawsuit later on in this broadcast. So again, why is it that we are not allowed to file an eviction until September 1st when a tenant hasn't paid rent? Even if they sign a declaration, we should be able to file. We, as landlords, should be able to challenge these tenants who have signed the declaration sitting in their brand new car that they bought and they didn't pay you, or sitting on their beautiful outdoor patio furniture that they bought by not paying you, or wearing those fancy sneakers that they have by not paying you. Or they send you the signed declaration of hardship on their $2,000 telephone saying, oh, sorry, I can't. COVID-19 has hurting me. I can't pay the rent. I'm suffering. You don't understand. While they send it to you on a very expensive cell phone. Why? Now, when we think about it, we have seen landlords, again, I'm looking at my notes, as we have seen landlords, there have been advocates, very strong advocates against us landlords, and they're very vocal. That is why we here at the Landlord Advocates and on social media, on YouTube, have been big proponents of getting landlords involved to fight what's been going on to us. We have had, now I will tell you, there are a couple of people who have been deciding that we should not be able to evict, cancel rent, not have to do any of that. And some of them, one of them is this woman right here. Her name is Sia Weaver. She is the leader of the Housing Justice for All, when they want to suspend rent and they want to house the homeless. Well, suspending rent, why? Excuse me. You want to house the homeless. Okay, those are noble ideas, sure. But if you want to house the homeless, Miss Weaver, then do it with your own dollar. Let them move into your apartment, not your house because you're a tenant. Let them move in with you. Send us the money to support these people that you want us to let live on our property for free. Sia Weaver is one of the, she's a socialist. She is a admitted socialist that believes that free housing, cancel rent, cancel it all, that there should be basically housing developments that people can stay in and pay on a percentage of what income you make. So that means that a tenant who makes a lot of money, $5,000, $7,000 a month, will live in the same building and down the hall from somebody who might make $1,000 a month, and they will each pay 25% of their income on that apartment. I, for one, if I were a tenant, would not want to live in a building where I'm paying $3,000 or $4,000 a month, and the guy down the hall and the woman down the hall is only paying $500 a month for the same kind of an apartment that I have. We don't work hard to live, excuse me, we don't work hard to have the things that we have to be able to provide housing for those who don't work as hard as we do or make the same decisions that we make in our lives to have what we have. It's not fair. Where's the incentive? The incentive has been taken away from us landlords, as we have seen by the government, through all of these moratoriums, acts, oppressive legislation has been taken away from us. So where's the incentive for us to do what it is that they want us to do? Another, that's why I have Gatorade next to me, and I do talk. Another person who has been an oppressor of landlords is this man right here. His name is Senator Brian Kavanagh. Brian Kavanagh, as we have heard through the grapevine, has a daughter who was a tenant who apparently was not treated well by that landlord. So now Mr. Kavanagh has been issuing so many legislative acts to his committee, Housing Committee in the New York State Senate, that he has been pushing and pushing so much oppressive legislation against us that makes us want to run away from our properties, even walk away without even getting paid, because the acts that he and his team have been proposing have been oppressive and utterly oppressive. Now we have, in the backstage, when we're coming up shortly, is the press day, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The press day is somebody who has been very helpful to the landlord advocates. He has been showing us legislation that the government has been looking to pass to hurt us, legislation that has been signed by Cuomo. And when he posts that to us, it helps us, because when we go in and we look at that law, we analyze that law, and we put it to our YouTube channel, as many of you have seen on our channel, and he has been a big helpful person in that. He will be coming out very shortly to talk about the warranty of habitability as it comes with evictions. One of the big ones that we want to talk about is the ERAP program. That is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. It is a program that is very, very terrible, as we know. Many people think they're going to get all this money that's owed to them, and the tenants are going to pay you. The government is going to pay you through this program. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on our guests so that they can also add comments, and they can respond, and they can answer anything that you may have as well. I don't want to keep them in the back room. Let's bring them on. First, we're going to bring on the press day. The press day is, like I said, somebody who has been very active on social media, NY Landlords, sharing legislation to let everybody aware, because these legislators aren't going to let us know. They let us know after they've done it, after they have screwed us. Well, he is making it aware to all of us, sharing information, sharing updates, sharing where it is in the legislative process. And by doing that, he's been very helpful to us and to me personally. I'm also going to bring on Rosanna. Rosanna is a doll. We have been talking back and forth, her and I. She was at the rally back in February in New York City regarding these moratoriums and oppressive acts. She has been there. We were not, because we were in quarantine. I did not have COVID, but a family member, a coworker had it, so we had to be in quarantine. But Rosanna was there. She was there where many landlords were not. Yes, I'm talking to you landlords who have not gone to rallies, who have not participated. Help us, help you, help us. Rosanna is somebody who is living with terminal cancer. She's a single mom. She's a wonderful woman. She's in New Jersey. Her home was hit by Hurricane Sandy. She has a terrible, terrible tenant, and she's going to talk to us about that tenant. But I'm going to bring them both on so they can read the comments that we have here, and they can answer those questions as well. So here we go. This is going to be my first show when we have guests on. Usually it's just me running my mouth, but now we have guests coming on to help me shut up more so that they can talk. Here's the press day, and we're going to unmute him so he can talk. And then we're going to bring on Rosanna. And we're going to say hello, everyone. And Rosanna, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, sweetie. I'm good. You will notice that I talk as if I talk like people shouldn't talk, sweetie, doll, all that. That's just how I am. So there's nothing offensive by it. It's just who I am. As most of you know, I'm very... I have cried over these laws. They have bothered me very badly to see what my people go through. And that's what I call you here on social media. And that is what I call my over 1,300 clients in my business. As you can see, I do legal support services located in upstate New York. I love my people. I love what we are doing, sticking together, working together, helping each other. And Rosanna, when I've heard her story, surviving with cancer with a rotten tenant, putting her through so much crap It bothered me. It drew tears to my eyes. But she's a strong woman. She stood out in the snow in February on the back of a pickup truck in a microphone and shared her story about the oppression that she has gone through. She's done wonderful. And that, landlords, I love you all, but that is something that all of you should be doing. Put aside the things in your life and put forth an effort to help us together fight this crap that we're all going through. So, Rosanna, if you would, and I'm going to put you on here when we're going to have you. See, we have you more here on screen. Rosanna, if you would share your story with all of us of what you had to go through with this tenant of yours. And
Sure.
Don't hold back. Let us all hear it because we're all adults here and we can hear everything.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Thank you, sweetie. Go ahead.
And Matthew and I don't take offense to any of your comments, as we here on this landlord group have really become a family. We are the only ones that are supporting one another and helping each other through. Lopresti has given a tremendous amount of information and a wealth of knowledge that has helped all of us, including myself. None of us are just in this for ourselves. We're in this for the greater good of all of us that are suffering. We all have a story. Every single one of us has a story, one more tragic than the next. My particular case, the woman has been renting from me for 3 years now. At this point last year, I'm on Long Island actually, and I had bought my house after Hurricane Sandy. The house was fixed up to be sold, and none of the right permitting had taken place. And as the new owner, unbeknownst to me when I purchased the home, the burden of obtaining permits and being able to do any further construction became mine. I knew that at some point at that time that the house was going to be unlivable for a tenant. At that same time, I found out that my health was declining tremendously. I had this cancer for many, many years, and I was able to keep it at bay for a long time. And then I found out that it had progressed to the next level. I knew I was going to need help, not just with the construction that needed to happen here, with my son. And my sister, fortunately, was able to sell her home. Everything kind of happened all at the same time. And her plan was to move in and be able to help me. The tenant was very well aware of all of the issues. My son is also learning disabled, and she has been aware of all of the governmental programs that my son has been involved in to try to help him, all the programs that I have been involved in. She knows about my health. She knows my cancer. She knows my son's issues with asthma and everything else. And I went to her and basically said, now's the time. I'm getting all my permits. You cannot live through this construction. The apartment is going to be removed from the home. My sister wants to move in, and I no longer wish to rent. I just don't want to rent anymore. And she refused. That sparked off a whole ton of just bad behavior. And even though we were on bad terms and I served her the papers, and she happens to be a paralegal, unfortunately for me, and she works for an attorney. He's a ticket attorney, but nonetheless, he's an attorney. So he advised her, and he sent me letters and nastiness, and she started this whole thing. And, obviously I had to go and hire an attorney myself. She didn't want to go that route anymore, and I'm glad that I didn't listen to her and trust her. I continued on, and I served her. We had a month-to-month lease. Her rate was locked in for a year, but her lease was month-to-month. I really only needed to give her 60 days, and out of courtesy, I gave her 90. And at the end of the 90 days, she refused to leave. So this has been going on for quite a while. She smokes deliberately, spitefully, denies it. She knows my son has asthma. She knows that I have cancer. I have 2 attorneys that have been to my house that wrote me attestations to and affidavits that they have smelled the smoke in my home. I had a neighbor that has actually visited the apartment several times to try to talk to her and ask her, what's your end goal? What is your end goal? And why do you want to live like this? She overloaded the circuits. There are all kinds of electrical issues in this house that, as more years pass after Sandy, are all coming to fruition again because the last owner did not do what they were supposed to do. She claims that I'm lying. I'm not lying. I have all of my open permits. I have all of the paperwork. She overloaded the circuits, and now she's living in an apartment with no air conditioning, and she's got electric in 1/3 of the apartment, and she still refuses to leave. I have her windows boarded up for safety because I have backhoes and big pieces of construction equipment in the backyard. She was not supposed to be here. And I waited as long as I possibly could to do the construction, and I couldn't wait anymore because that deck was in danger of completely falling and would have destroyed the entire back of my home. So she still refuses to leave, and she wants to live under these conditions. And even the police that have been here, every single time I call them 2, 3, 4 times a week for the last 6 months now, have even asked her, why? Why do you continue to stay here? And her answer was, because I effing can. So she has made it perfectly clear to everybody that she's not going to leave. This was not a matter of hardship. This was not a matter of non-payment, although obviously when you're in a holdover situation, those of us know that after your tenancy ends, you can no longer accept rent. So she has not paid rent since November 1st. She continues to live in my home. She continues to wreak havoc. She continues to lie. She blew the 220 line on the stove because she was using the stove for heat, claiming that I wasn't giving her heat, but she never complained to me that there was no heat because there was. She just lied to everybody else. So this is how my life continues. And the longer they adjust this moratorium, and of course she was given the opportunity to file hardship, which I easily was able to prove she was lying, but you're not allowed to challenge the hardship. She applied for an apartment saying, I work as a paralegal, but in the same breath, her attorney said, she's not working. I said, well, here's the text message from my friend who is a realtor that sent me her response to the ad saying I work as a paralegal just the other day. But we're not allowed to challenge that hardship.
You know what we can say, Rosanna? We noticed that now. I have a little fan on over here because it's pretty warm outside. So, we could say that maybe she has no air conditioning. Mm-hmm. She's on the second floor, right?
She's on the first ground floor.
Okay. Well, we could say you have air conditioning, so it's nice and comfy where you are. You never know. It may get so hot in her apartment that something could happen and she might have to leave.
Well, it's my responsibility to keep everybody in this house safe.
Well, it's not your responsibility to provide them with air conditioning.
But here's the thing. It's my responsibility to keep everybody safe. So if I locked her out at this point, the police cannot make me let her back in, and they cannot claim self-help because by CDC standards, if that apartment reaches 87 degrees of an internal temperature, it's no longer safe for her to be in there.
So at that time, and I asked this, in your area and our area, they're nightmares. So in your area of Long Island, and I knew Hurricane Sandy, I thought New Jersey, and I was wrong. In your area, when it reaches that temperature, could you call your building inspector and they can come out and give her a notice to vacate?
No, I would call the police. I've already forewarned the police, and the police have already said that she is a nuisance to them at this point.
But I mean, in the heat temperature, the police said they would make her leave.
Doesn't want to get involved there. They've already issued me violations that the apartment is illegal and I need to remove it. So I'm not fixing anything because I'm not going to pay to fix something that I'm going to have to remove.
Absolutely. So the police would be the ones that would go there and say, you have to leave.
That's correct.
But the moment it drops under 87, she can come back.
That's correct.
Yeah. And by calling the police and having to leave temporarily for a few hours could only exacerbate the situation that you're already living under.
Correct. I mean, I could lock her out and they can't make me let her back in, but that's really just a Band-Aid fix at this point, and that's only going to infuriate her even more.
Now, you've had court, have you, for her eviction? Have you been in court yet?
We have. We attempted to file a nuisance because of the smoking. Unfortunately, the route that we went on the advice of a team of folks, we actually converted my holdover to a nuisance. And because of predicate of law, we were unable to evict on that premise because she would have needed to be served a notice to quit. But she has claimed that she's not smoking. She is. And unfortunately, there's not much we could do. The judge was very sympathetic, empathetic. He really asked her attorney, what is your client's end game? And his response was, I spent 3 hours with her and I still don't know what it is. So,
and this is her attorney that she works for?
No, he wasn't able to represent her. So I believe she went out and got legal aid. I believe he's legal aid. That's allegedly, I'm not sure. But in any event, that was his response. His response was, I don't know. I spent 3 hours with her and I really don't even know.
All he knows is that he can stop this eviction by all of these moratoriums and the declaration of hardship. He can stop it. And for a lot of them, that's all they care about.
Well, the judge gave me right then and there on the spot the very first court date of September 2nd at 9:30 a.m.
Well, I will tell you right now, that is a great day because that's my birthday. Well, so my birthday wish is that you win your case and her ass gets taken out by the show. That is my birthday wish. You can quote me on that, everybody, on social media. My birthday wish is that Rosanna gets this damn tenant out so that her and her son can enjoy the life that she has and whatever life God wants to give her for the time that she has. Living the way she's living now is not living, and that's a lot of bull.
It's unfortunate because there is a tremendous amount of verbiage in the moratorium that talks about the tenant and their health. And there's nothing about the landlord. There's nothing. And, what's interesting is they're talking about putting in, what is this, good cause eviction thing that they want to put into place. Everything that I have going on fits under that anyway. Ultimately, I have every right to evict this person. Not only do I have family coming in, not only is this owner occupied, not only is it less than 4 units, not only is it under construction, everything that is here happening is everything that falls under the ability to evict under good cause eviction. So I don't really understand why. And holdovers really were never supposed to be involved with this moratorium. This moratorium was supposed to have been set up for those people that truly had hardship. And, when we were at the Gracie Mansion back in February, I believe the gentleman's name was Rich. He's spoken on I believe, your channel, a different channel also on the...
Rich Tyson from Rochester. Yeah. Very good person.
Rich made a very good point that day. And the point was, those tenants that truly are experiencing hardship were willing to go to their landlord and say, hey, listen, I've never missed a payment. I've never been late. Can you work with me? I'll give you what I can. I'm going on unemployment. Rich made a point that landlords are not in the business to evict. We don't want to evict. We want to keep our tenants. We want to have healthy relationships with our tenants. So this moratorium was designed initially to help those people that truly needed the help. And what this turned into was every single piece of crap tenant that just decided they didn't want to pay, because I don't have to, like my tenant said, because I don't effing have to.
Yeah.
And that's where we're all having problems, because I do know other landlords through this group and outside of this group that have had their tenants come to them, and they're working with them. I have friends that are tenants. Rosanna, what am I going to do? I lost my job. Well, go to your landlord and speak to them. Okay, well, they worked something out. We all understand that this was a horrible thing for everyone to experience. Not was our lives taken away, our jobs taken away, everything. Our lives changed for, what, a year and a half now. We all kind of understand that. What we can't understand is the grotesque behavior of those that are taking advantage of a system that was put in place to truly help those in need. And these people are not the ones in need. You have people destroying property. You have people attacking their landlord with pipes and crowbars. And I mean, these stories are unheard of. Like I said, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. Mine happens to be a little unique, but everybody has a story. And it's terrible and it's disgusting. And the fact that Cuomo's allowing this is even more disgusting. And you do realize, and Matthew, you and I have spoken about this on Messenger, that August 31st, and I posted this morning, that was a date that was deliberately chosen. It was deliberately chosen. That's right. Because the next thing is going to be, well, we need to extend it again because school starts in September, and we are not going to kick out the children that are in school for those tenants that have children. And then it's going to be, well, there's September, October, November. Oh, well, now we're in this. Well, let's push it till the end of the year. They're going to get another 3 months out of it. So this is just going to keep on going for as long as we keep going. And as landlords, we all need to join together. We all need to unite and speak and sing the same song. We cannot sit here and allow haters in the group to divide us. We cannot be divided. These tenants are all joining together and they are being heard. Well, we need to be we have a group here on Long Island called Long Island Loud Majority. Well, guess what? We need to be the next loud majority. We need to be heard. We need to be heard, and we cannot allow this to continue. I have called Cuomo's office. I have spoken to his representatives. I called Kavanagh's office. I spoke to his representatives. I have called my own senator, who I sit on a 9/11 committee with him, and he voted this thing in. I have had many conversations with him about how wrong this is.
One of our local legislators that we have here, and you may have seen the video that we had, was a Phil Stack from Colony, New York, assemblyman from that area. He had an editorial in the Gazette newspaper, our local publication, where he had made, you saw that, and he had made mention about the declaration of hardship can be challenged in court, and that if the court would not hear that challenge, he made that you can call the local police and tell the tenant that tell the police that the tenant signed the declaration under false pretenses, and therefore you want to have them arrested for that. Mm-hmm. And you saw in our video that we said, no police is going to get involved. It's a civil matter. They run away from it. This declaration is, and we've had people challenge it. Now, like you said, Rosanna, we have seen people here. We had in our local court, we had a client who represented himself pro se. He did not want us to represent. He's been doing it for years. He did not need us to do it. Well, he went to court. The tenants are nightmares. Him and his wife were senior citizens. The tenants, there's 8 apartments in the one building, and they're rotten. They're rotting. Well, anyway, we took them for non-payment. The judge said, well, just amend your petition as a holdover, a nuisance. And when he came to my office and said that, I said, they can't do that. I said, because the other side, the tenants, have to be made aware of the allegations against them so that they can defend themselves. When the court clerk told my staff that they can do it, I'm like, well, you know what? If that's what the judge wants, that's what the judge gets. We gave our client the amended petition. He went to court, and they said, oh, no, sorry, no, you have to file a whole new eviction. And I said, of course you have to. Mm-hmm. So the problem that we have now, we have one today where our client came in and signed the signed the court paperwork to get a court date. When we gave that tenant the notice to move the holdover, it expired the end of May. We said it is not worth stating the reasons why, because by doing so, you have to raise the issues in court. You have to defend them. You have to give blood, DNA samples, chromosome samples to prove your case. Right? Yeah. The press is crazy. It's crazy. So I said, let's not do it. Let's just move forward with a holdover. I told them today, we may have a problem in court because we did not state the reasons why. And these tenants are bad. We've had tenants taken out by the United States Marshal. They have been arrested. They've been charged with crimes. We have one in jail right now who had to go through the eviction process. We have one right now where the mother died. She was on Section 8. They moved into the apartment, and now they have to be evicted. And it's all, and Rosanna, and I think the press would agree, and anybody would. And for those of you watching, if you don't agree with me, you are not a landlord. You are not a landlord.
Right.
Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act of 2019 is one of the worst pieces of legislation ever enacted against landlords in the history of New York State. Mm-hmm. When you look at that, my friends, look at this. When you look at that act, tenant protection, the only way you are a tenant is by having a landlord. Well, if the government wants to protect us or protect the tenant from us, the landlord, tenant protection. So inherently, the government is against us. Like you said, Rosanna, the good cause eviction, we have a video on that on our channel regarding the good cause eviction. What that means in a nutshell, for those of you who didn't see the video, that means go watch it after the show, is that it states that the landlord who owns the property must have a good cause to evict their tenant if it's not payment related, rent related. And the judge will then have to make a determination whether or not it's not a good cause. No, your case is dismissed. This is our property, people. We own this. We should be able to say, I don't want you. Get out. Bye. And these good cause evictions are stopping. Will stop us. Go ahead, Rosanna.
And Matthew, again, I'm going to go back to, there are many other states that if it is an owner-occupied property, everything else is out the window. It's owner-occupied. You want that person out? They're out. They're out in a week. That's it. Done. I just don't understand how they can allow this in an owner-occupied dwelling. This is not a tenement building. This is not an apartment building. This is my home. This is my home, and I allowed someone to rent part of that home. Yes, that's on me. I get that. But the minute you say to somebody, that's it, the time is over, or I'm not renting anymore, this is an owner-occupied dwelling. It's a home. And there's not enough clarification or delineation between property owners that are owner-occupied properties. There's not enough delineation between big business and landlords that have less than 10 units, less than 4 units. These are all things that should be driving the differences of the laws. And, there's another thing. When you have a senior citizen in your home, the minute they're asked to leave, social services should be called in and they should be assigned an advocate that helps them find, or a caseworker that helps them find alternate housing. Because that's what we pay our taxes for. We pay for these types of services. These services are not happening. Because this woman, maybe she's not capable of finding her own. I did make phone calls for her. I did send her links. I offered to drive her. I offered to take her. I called realtors. I offered to pay her. I offered everything under the sun, which, by the way, her attorney in court had the nerve to say was inappropriate. And my response to him was, it was not unsolicited. I have the text messages that your client begged me to help her. And
you know what's funny? Rosanna? I tell our clients, when we hear these tenants in court say, I can't find a place to live, I have no place to go. Here's what I tell them. And let's say it's wintertime when I hear that. I say, you know what? Let me strip them down naked, throw them in a snowbank, and I'll have a place to live by tomorrow. Right. The convenience factor that the governments and the courts and these moratoriums have put on tenants, they can just sit back and relax and not have to worry about a damn thing. Now, when that attorneys, and lie. When they say that it was inappropriate, you were not kicking her out of the car going 80 miles an hour. Though you may have wanted to, you did not do so. You were there to try to help move her out. Now, one of the things that we want to be careful of, and I've seen this happen, we know of a landlord who was driving the tenant around to find a place to live, and this landlord was singing the praises of this senior citizen to other landlords because he needed a first floor apartment, when in fact this guy was a nightmare. And one of the things I will say here publicly to all of our watchers, all of our viewers, is that if you have a bad tenant and you push them off onto another landlord just to get rid of them, karma will, and I hope, visit you. Don't push your bad tenant up on somebody else, because you know why? The next tenant you get could be happening to you. Mm-hmm. So don't push. And the moment that when all of us say no, I'm going to take my time, then tenants might, it's a big word, might shape up and realize, maybe I shouldn't be such an a-hole and I better shape up or I'll never have a place to live. Go ahead.
This is absolutely unbelievable to live through every single day of my life. And it has affected my son terribly, psychologically. He is not doing well with this at all. And he has been through enough. And it's just really unfortunate that she's just allowed to get away with this. And her attorney is pushing for even longer. Someone in the comments is asking, who is the tenant? What's her name? That's not something that we publicize here. That's definitely not something that we publicize. I'm not really sure what the relevance is of even asking that question at this point. It doesn't matter.
We can't ask that. Yeah, we know we can't.
There is, I know that we on this group, I know that there is a class action suit out there that we are trying to get people to join. A lot of this is not even that we think we're going to get the money. At this point, I think most people have resigned themselves to the fact that they're not going to get their money. I think this is really more about joining forces, stopping this moratorium, not allowing this extension, and becoming one voice, as I said before. I think a lot of us just need to rid ourselves of these, evil beings that have just possessed our homes. I mean, really, it's awful, and we just need to be rid of them. And I think that's really, the goal here. I think we have to make this moratorium end, and we're not going to make it end in silos. We have to be one strong, united front. So,
and one of the things that we have to do too, when this is over, when it's over, we will have a lot of tenants looking for a place to live. A lot of landlords are going to be needing of money, and you may rent to people who you really should not. Use some pragmatism, use your time, and look at who may move in. Because we've seen landlords, and we get them. I can go on stories of clients that I've had for 30 years who make mistakes. They rent to people because they show up with money, or they have children and they feel sorry for them. And in Rosanna's case, I'm giving you a hug, and your son too. But if you were a tenant coming to me, and I say this with love, you know that, Rosanna, if you came to me, I cannot consider your situation of your cancer or your son's learning disability to decide whether or not I rent to you or not.
Correct.
And too many landlords in our world decide to rent to people based upon their heart rather than their mind. And you cannot do that. We've had landlords, we had one that came into my office a few years ago who said that he felt sorry for the tenant's children. And I asked, do you have children yourself? His answer was, yes. I asked him, how does it feel to hate your children? And he got angry. I love my children. How dare you say I hate my children? I said, well, wait a minute. I said, here's why. I said, when you are showing concern for your tenant's children, when you have your own, and this tenant owes you a lot of money, the money that this tenant owes you could go towards your children. Great escape, an amusement park, vacation. And he says, you know, Matt, he says, you're right. I said, that's right, I'm right, and you need to be right too. Do not, and I said it was as you all here, you may have rented to her because she was a senior citizen. You may have thought there's no issue with her, she'll be quiet, she may crochet, she may watch soap operas, who knows? That may have been what was running through your head, and now look where you are now. I'm assuming, is that what happened? You thought that she was going to be quiet? Or?
What I thought was, honestly, I didn't really take her age into consideration. She was one single person with one car. I knew that she was a widow and that she had, you know, a couple of family members. And I figured that was the ideal tenant. It was somebody that was not going to have a lot of guests. There wasn't going to be a lot of additional parking needed because I used to give an off-street parking spot until the construction began. And now like the driveway is just full of construction vehicles and materials. But, you know, it was the ideal situation. You know, and again, yes, quietness, you look for those kinds of things. Absolutely. You know, but as the years progressed, she got much more demanding with things. And honestly, my life changed. And there were many pragmatic reasons that I had asked her to leave. And one of them was was the construction, obviously my health. I didn't feel that it was fair for her to be living in an apartment where my son was getting older. He was having friends over. He was 15, he's 16 now. He's got friends over that are over until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, playing Xbox, doing whatever. I honestly did not feel, and I even said to her, he's getting older, and I don't feel this is the appropriate place for you to be. I think you should consider looking elsewhere because I can no longer provide to you, you know, what we had originally agreed to. My son is much older now. Life changes. I need the space because I want to get rid of the apartment. I need my sister here. I need my family here. There were a ton of pragmatic reasons why I asked, you know, for her to leave. And she and I have had a million conversations. And the funny thing was, when we were on good terms, she would say to me, why do you need such a big house? Why don't you consider selling? Why don't you, you know, why do you need all, I mean, she would actually, we would talk as two human beings, as two women that had, you know, a need for one another to talk and discuss. And she would tell me about, you know, personal things with her family and with the grandchildren and whatever. We had a relationship. We had conversations. And I used to say to her, I don't want to sell until my son graduates school. I don't want to rip him out of the house. But, you know, after all of that, to turn around and say, I'm not leaving because I don't have to, I just don't understand.
We've seen tenants who, in your case, we've seen landlords who have tenants who have been there for years. Who we had one today, 8 years they've been in the apartment, and now they've just decided over the last 3 months not to pay and should get Social Security. So they absolutely have the means to pay, but they're not.
Right. Yes.
And, you know, tenants who otherwise were great tenants up until they became emboldened because now they don't have to pay.
And Matthew, that's very interesting because there are a lot of questions here about people saying, what if you're asked to give a referral?
And go ahead and answer that question. Go ahead.
My particular case, what I would do for me in my case, because she had asked me if I would give her a referral, and I wouldn't give her one without a surrender agreement. which she didn't want to sign.
I remember you mentioning that.
Yes, so she didn't want to sign it because that mandated that she left by a certain date, and she wasn't guaranteed the apartment that she had been looking at. So therefore, she didn't sign it. But in any case, my reference letter was basically going to say, during the time of the lease, she paid on time, because that's not a lie.
Children.
And I don't know how people feel about that, but that was going to be my reference. LaPresta, you had a comment on that. What,
please open your mouth. I gotta hear what you sound like.
What's your comment?
How you doing? Well, Rosanna, first off, Rosanna, I thought your story and what you were expressing was so valuable, and considering your health and situation, I wanted you to have the floor. I thought you deserved it, and I'm honored to be able to sit here and listen and hear your plight. Part of what we do in this landlord membership site is we're here to listen. As much as everyone wants to be involved, we need to vent to keep ourselves from doing something stupid, keep ourselves from doing something, evil or wicked, because we're better than them.
Absolutely.
So, by all means, I wanted you to have the floor. I thought you've earned that right, and you've covered a lot of things that people already may have some connection to, not maybe your health wise, and that way, as we keep talking, we might be able to talk about some of those things you just brought up. So, and thank you, Matthew, for inviting me.
Absolutely. I'd be a fool not to. You have been very valuable to me.
Very, extremely.
Yeah, because you said that stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to check this out. But I will tell you, because of you, I've gone through many reams of paper. Because we've printed out at the office. I highlight stuff. I even have some stuff right here in front of me as my notes that you have provided, and it has been really helpful. You helped me. You've helped my clients. You've helped us on social media. So yeah, this is what we need. There are so many of us in the various groups that we're on, but there's only a few core of us that share with each other, go on to social media, share our stories, share our information. And then we've had landlords that have come into my office and they have said, well, when is someone, and then I get pissed off. And I'm like, why are you not that someone? Why are you not that someone? Why are you not? But the person, you answer that question, and I allow you to vocalize it here, please. What is it that you would do if I call you up and say, would you rent to Rosanna? She told me that you were her former landlord. What would you say to me? I say, what reference will you get me for her?
I would basically, the magic question is, would you re-rent? By asking that question and saying yes or no, you're not mentioning any names. You're not putting yourself in any liable position. It's just like employment. If somebody came to me and wanted to work for me when I used to run a steward shop, a convenience store for 10 years, I would ask the previous employer, would you rehire? Because I could ask that question. I couldn't get into the specifics. They're not going to tell me what they were written up for. They're not even going to share with me their hourly wage. But if I said, would you rehire this person? They can say yes or no, and they will. So the magic question between landlords is, your question should be, would you rent to this person again? And they can say yes or no, and no law is broken. And if they say no, thank you for your time. You don't need to ask any more questions.
Yes. And if they ask the question, if the prospective landlord goes on to ask more, you just say, I can't say any more. But I will tell you, and you landlords know, on our social media, if I tell you something that comes from love, it doesn't come from a fist, the landlord continues to ask, the prospective landlord continues to ask more questions. You can say, listen, read between the lines. If I tell you no, I will not rent to them, and we've had landlords that say, well, why? And all you need to know is that if you have to pursue that question more, then you have intentions of renting to that tenant anyway, so you might as well do it. You might as well do it. And then a few months later, you're going to realize, oh, maybe I should have listened to the other landlord.
Some people need a little more. So once in a while, I break the rules and I'll say the following. They need management. That's a key line.
Oh, I got a blue tongue. I apologize.
So the tenant needs to know, the landlord hears that I got work involved if I rent to this person. They need to be managed. I will say that. If I don't want to say yes or no, I will say they need to be managed. Then they might say, well, what do you mean by that? And I will say, babysitting is required. If you can't babysit, then I would not rent to this person. So I might say that. Another way to be able to say something without breaking the law is on a scale to 1 to 10, I can consistently depend on them with a score of 7 or a score of 8. Or if I really want to brag, I would absolutely re-rent to them. You'll be lucky if you sign them as a lease. So there are other things you could say, but the first question anybody should ask when they call for reference is, would you re-rent to this person? Save yourself the debate or all the 20 minutes of trying to talk in code. You know what I mean? Just ask the question. So,
as we see here on the screen, we have sometimes 3 folks on the list and 8 move in. We had a case last year, actually the year before, when the tenant had 4 people in a 3-unit. That was legal. Then when the sheriff came to throw the tenants out, there were 8 more people living in a 3-bedroom apartment. He was able to ascertain the name of the other 8 tenants, and we were able to evict them. I had asked our deputy who handles it, who is a great guy, personal friend, I asked him, what would happen if those 8 people moved other people in when we had to do another eviction? And his answer was, which I knew the answer, was yes. So these tenants that they really know, they can continue their tenancy in perpetuity for so long. By the time we get them out, we'll have no teeth to eat with because we've been so damn old by the time we get them out. And that is attributable to that Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act that we mentioned earlier. One of the big components of that act that needs to get eradicated is how you have to name all of the people that live in the property, even though you did not put them in, they're not on the lease, you have no idea who they are. And the law protects them because they have 30 days to tell you who that tenant is that moved in, or 30 days from the date that you asked. And I told one of my team members the other day, it goes from occupancy to tenancy now after 30 days. They crafted that piece of law, that legislation, to make that happen, that now we have to do a formal eviction on those people. Now, when we look to, let's talk a little bit about, and I have it here.
Matt.
Go ahead, Rusty.
I wanted to comment on that 3 = 8 because
please go right ahead.
On the Facebook many times. The mistake that landlords make is wanting more than one person on the lease to begin with. If you can't find one person to qualify to your strict guidelines to pay that entire rent, that you need to add person number 2 or person number 3, you've already made a mistake. Because if you know the law, 1 = 2, 2 = 4, 4 = 8. And that's because for every person on a lease, they're allowed to bring in one person not on the lease. So the solution here in New York State is all lease agreements should only have one name on it. If you need 2 people, pass and go to the next applicant. I'm serious about that. I don't care how big the apartment is. If one person can't pay the bill, pass. Because you're not going to want to let all these people in, and the law says you have to if they're on the lease.
Yep.
Sorry.
And then when you mention that too, and that goes right along, and then we're going to discuss this, is this question right here. Oh, I apologize. It was my cursor moved. Is that this is that program that we all know that opened up on June 1st, that Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Our last video was talking about the extortion and the smoke and mirrors of what the hell this really is. And we already know that, and we're not going to have to repeat it here overly because it's on our last video about what the nuances are, the pitfalls, the downfalls of that. But when we look at that, when we mention the earlier part of people on the lease and what they can afford, when you apply for this program, do you know that if you deny them to be able to pay their rent from the funds from this program, you can be charged with discrimination under the Human Rights Law of New York that was passed on April 12th of 2019. So this program is one that you have to accept when the payment is offered. If you don't, then they can hold it for 6 months. You can't evict for non-payment of rent. And then you can't raise rent for a year. You can't throw them out, but there is a way if you want to throw them out as a holdover in a 4-unit or less, is that you want to have a relative and immediate family member move in. Therefore, you move your kid in for a month, then you get the kid out and you move somebody in that will pay the rent. That's the way around that. But I'm sure when the legislature sees that, they're going to find some kind of a way to close that loophole that we have by moving in a family member. But the other problem that I mentioned in our last video is that the state is in non-compliance with the federal government, because the federal government rules under the ERAP program is that if the landlord is non-compliant, the money will go directly to the tenant for the rent that is owed. And then maybe you might get the money. That's where I do applaud the state government to say that no, any money paid should go directly to the landlord and not to the tenant. But the fact that, now here's the biggest caveat of them all. And here, Rosanna and the trustee and everybody else, if the tenant applies for this ERAP money, the eviction is on hold until a determination is made as to their eligibility. Now, when you look at this Office of Disability or Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, how many inspectors, how many investigators, how many of them do they have to look over these applications of possibly 180 to 200,000? It could be months. Now, we know, and some could say, oh, no, Matt, don't Matt mean nothing. We know that there will be plenty of tenants who make a lot of money who will apply for this rental assistance by virtue of being able to hold off their eviction. The person you're shaking your head, Rosanna, this is just another way of the shell game to show that the eviction moratorium will continue, could very well go into next year. So, but here we are, when I asked that question, do you plan on applying? You may, as the landlord, apply, but if the tenant doesn't, you get nothing. And like I said before with that program, that ERAP program, you may have a tenant that does not want to apply. I'm not going to apply. That's too much. I'm not going to bother. Well, then what happens is they get wind that if you and them apply, you might get $4,000, $5,000, $8,000. Who's to say that that tenant is not going to say, Rosanna, you want me to sign? Get me $1,000 now when my signature on this document ain't happening.
A kickback.
Yes. And some have said in the press, say, oh, that's not going to happen. And those who say that, and I said, well, ignorant to being a landlord or have never faced that. I've been in the industry for 30 years. I believe that they will do that. We see it with cash for keys all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it's going to happen. And the fact that agencies out there pushing tenants to apply for this ERAP money is only doing so to stall the eviction. That's all it is. Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts. The goal has always been to keep people in the areas because they need the votes. I mean, this is a vote law if nobody's figured that out.
Absolutely.
I mean, all these people are going to vote for these legislators who gave them the free ride.
Absolutely.
And they don't want them being evicted, or they don't even want them moving even if they didn't get evicted, because they might relocate to another district. And then there might be too many people who are taxpayers who think, free rides aren't proper. We're not revoting for you. So they want to try to keep everyone exactly where they are. Mm-hmm. There's a flood of people leaving New York State right now. And I can tell you, I keep track of houses for sale in upstate New York. I will see them sell maybe in 4 weeks, some 8 weeks, some 6 months. I've been saving houses from down south. They don't stay up 3 days. They're under contract. It's crazy. And they're not telling you that in New York. They're not telling you that.
They like the people that we know who are in charge like complicit people who will just go along with what they want. As long as we keep feeding them money and giving them what they want. We had today, now part of this ERAP program also covers National Grid, Con Ed, whatever you may have in your area of the United States. It covers that. That goes back. We had a client come in today in one of his rentals, had seen the bill on the floor, not on the table, because why do I care? I'm not paying it. Found it on the floor for National Grid to the tune of $23,000 and unpaid. Now, Cuomo just extended the moratorium on utility shutoffs. It will happen 6 months after he declares the pandemic over, or December 31st. So for utility companies in the state of New York, they may see non-payment and not be able to turn their tenants off until turn their customers off until July 1st of 2022. So some of these people may rack up a bill of $40,000, $50,000 that will never get paid. And what the legislature, in its infinite lack of wisdom, not infinite wisdom, lack of wisdom has done, is that when you do this, what's going to happen is that when it does get turned off, what will happen is that the children of these tenants who are 3 and 4 years old will have National Grid or Con Ed put in their name with that child's social security number. So when they turn 18 or 19 years old, they're going to be hit with a bill for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, not including interest. Well, when they want to get it turned on in their own apartment, because they're not like the loser parents, they're going to be signed up with a bill immediately, which they can fight it, because what 3-year-old or 4-year-old needs electricity under their name? But the fact that now they've done that, and to fix whatever credit they may want with their own name will not be happening for a very long time. And how much will it cost these youth, these babies of today, how much will it cost them 18 years from now when they want to get National Grid in their own name? Because of this. Go ahead, Lepresti.
Matt, you brought this up, the utility bill, and I think it's great that you brought this up. So I'm going to tell you a tip that I've been using for years, and landlords should start doing this. I don't sign a lease until I make the phone call to the utility company right in front of them and make sure they can turn the bill on in their name, because I won't allow them to put it in anybody's name who's not on the lease. And since I only lease to one person, that's the only person that I will authorize for the electric company to change the electricity from my name to their name. And I won't give them a key or sign a lease till that phone call is made first and confirmed that they have no balance due and that they can put a bill in their name. And yes, the utility company with the landlord and the tenant on the phone will allow you to do that. Yes. It's hands-on. A lot of hands-on, but if you want to still have control in New York State, you got to start being hands-on. And so you can solve that. You can stop that. So if they can't put the bill in their name, you have a legal reason to reject the application, and that's it.
How many of our landlords, and I've seen this in my office, and I love my people, but they need me to help them a lot, and I don't mind. They'll show on up with an account, and it's like 8675309. That's not an account, people. It's not an account.
That's a song.
And, you know 8675309. I'm not a sinner, but they will turn around and they will provide a fake number, and I tell them, "Have you called to verify?" Well, no. I'm like, well, then that number does not exist, and you're not what you said, the prostate, unless it's in their name. You're not renting them. And for you landlords that have shared metering, you're asking for trouble.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to pay a bill later on. Because remember, and we've seen this for years, in the middle of winter, 12 degrees, the heat is on as high as it could go, where we would have the air conditioning on, and they're walking around in underwear and T-shirts and no shirts at all. So don't have shared metering. Spend the money and split the metering up. Because we've seen some on social media where they have a shared metering, and then they go to the tenants and they split the bill up among the tenants. You're asking for trouble. Now, this is a client of ours, Old Home Ventures, and you are absolutely correct. if after you receive the money from this ERAP program and they stop paying you, you can evict for non-payment of rent. You can.
Yep.
That you can do. But I asked this, and I should have it as a band with it. How many people have actually received any of this money from ERAP or any other program? How many people actually got paid? That's the question. Let's see how many people had that.
Oh, I believe the law states that it can take up to 6 months for them to send you the check to begin with. And then the kicker is the 1 year starts after you receive the check.
Yes.
Don't forget that part. So you apply in June, you don't get the check till October, and now their 1 year starts. So they just got the free ride from June to October.
Yes. Allison, that's if you don't accept it. You don't have a choice, Allison. You have to accept it under the New York State human rights law because they call it, and I hate this phrase, I hate it, lawful source of income. Like, when I go to my office and I work 7 days a week, that's my income. Our rental property income is our income. If I get an EBT card that's rebooted every month, or I get my rent paid by Section 8 or DSS, that is not lawful source of income. I disagree with the government. And I can say that because I grew up on welfare. I was homeless when I was 17. I had $40 in my name and a box of dirty clothes. I've been all of that. So I can say that money that I received and the Medicaid that I got, I was thankful for it. It wasn't mine. It was the taxpayers' money. And I treated it as such. But now we've had government that has allowed so much for these tenants to do as they want, not pay rent, not have to get evicted, and here, not paying national grid and not paying rent. Oh my God. Let's see if we have any. You two go right on in.
Well, Matt,
I'm going to throw up. Go ahead.
I think this is a good point for me to come in with the warrant of habitability because I believe the warrant of habitability law, if you're going to utilize what I'm going to suggest, can help all these people that are considering or not considering to take the rent relief funds. Because I believe more of these programs are going to happen. We're probably going to have more pandemics in the future. And this will be, believe it or not, I believe this is going to be the biggest help we have in the future to have any authority. I think New York State missed on this. The warrant of habitability could be actually our power move in the future, if you'd let me go over it a few moments.
Oh, sure. Go right ahead. This one here from Old Home Ventures, Section 8 tenants eligible if they haven't paid their family contributions. I'm almost 100% sure that they are eligible to receive that money. Section 8 obviously is not going to take that money and pay. So I do believe that they are eligible. What we'll do in the press is that absolutely, we'll have you talk about that now if you like. What we can do, though, is for our viewers, if they do have a question, we can pop it up on screen if it's okay with you and answer that question and then go back on. Roseanne, is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
All right, sweetie, we'll do that. And I call Rosanna sweetie, not you, the Presti, okay? She's my sweetie, not you. But we'll throw up questions, we'll throw up comments. But like I said, the Presti has the floor, and he's going to talk about the warranty of habitability and how it relates to how we might be able to evict tenants based upon that. Go ahead.
All right. Real quick though, Rosada asked who's going to pay the rent for the 6 months while you wait for that relief fund. Obviously, you're limited to 15 months total under certain conditions. So any extra rent that is owed, you automatically accept that is written off when you take that check. So if they owe you 2 years and you get 15 months, they're paid up. That answers your question. So they're getting the free ride until the check comes. Yes. Sorry, Rosada, but that's the truth. All right. So some good news, because I know everyone's desperate for something, and I've spent a great deal of time on this. I've been thinking about this and taking notes for 2 weeks on this warrant of habitability. So I wanted to be brief because I know we've already been long on this, and I figured we can always go into more detail, but I'm going to be brief. First, I think you all need to take a pen and paper right now and write this down so that you know where to go look yourself, because that is why I'm doing this. So you want to write down that it is the real property law, Article 7, Section 235B. So I'll say it one more time. Real Property Law, Article 7, Section 235B. Now, what is the warranty of habitability? So I'm going to read to you quickly one paragraph. And it says, I got the wrong page here. Hold on.
That's okay.
It's been here so long, I didn't have the right page up. Okay, here we go. All right. In every written or oral lease or rental agreement for residential premises, the landlord or leaser shall be deemed to covenant and warrant the premise so leased or rented and all areas used in connection therewith, common with the other tenants, as fit for human habitation. And then I'm going to skip a little and I'm going to go to the next part, which says, the occupants of such premises shall not be subjected to any conditions which would be dangerous, hazardous, or detrimental to their life, health, or safety. Now, the last part of this that I want you to listen to is, when any such condition has been caused by the misconduct of a tenant under his direction or control, you have not breached this warranty of habitability. And why does this matter? Because as landlords, we are required daily, weekly, monthly, yearly to provide for all tenants in a building a warrant of habitability. Since the wording is vague when it comes to safety and hazard, if one tenant breaches that law of habitability, you might be free of the negligence or the responsibility for that tenant, but you have other tenants possibly in the building that you are now breaching because you're not fixing it, even though you didn't cause it, which means you have a serious and immediate safety hazard. And I do believe that for the safety and welfare of the other tenants, obviously this law really helps if you have a multi-dwelling building, of course, that you would now have a nuisance because you can't warrant to all the other tenants in the building a safe and hazard-free environment. So that is a nuisance case. And I want to give you where that came from because they talk about it in the COVID Prevention Moratorium Act that they passed recently. If you go to page 6, the name of the act is called the COVID-19 Emergency Eviction and Foreclosure Prevention Act of 2020. If you go to page 6, to the very last paragraph, section 9, I'm going to read that to you guys. It says, section 2, 4, and 6, and paragraph 2 of a subdivision of section 8 of this act shall not apply if the tenant is persistently and unreasonably engaging in behavior that infringes on the use and enjoyment of other occupants or causes substantial safety hazard to others. Warrant of habitability, Article 7, Section 235B. It's also implied that is the number one obligation you have when a lease is signed, because it says it in Article 7, which means it's an automatic nuisance case. And that's because if you caused the breach, you've automatically, you're automatically held accountable criminally and financially for anything that happens to that tenant. Now everyone's saying, well, what are these breaches? So I'm going to give them to you. And this is where it's going to get really good for some of you. Some of you, it may not help. For you, Rosanna, your situation is very unique. Not sure it'll really help you. You had already started some things as well. So anyone who has already started cases, they might have a little trouble changing their petition.
Right.
But anybody who hasn't done anything yet, you should be listening to this right now.
Yes.
What are these breaches? You have a water leak in the house, mold, defective smoke alarms. And I'm going to tell you all, the defective smoke alarms is a beautiful thing. And I'll tell you why. Because there's a new New York State law that says after April of 2019, any apartment in New York State that has a smoke alarm that runs on a battery that must be replaced yearly is no longer legal. You are required by law to replace that 1-year battery with a 10-year lithium sealed smoke alarm. No, it doesn't cover carbon dioxide alarms, just smoke alarms. So if you signed a lease after April 1st, 2019, and you didn't change those smoke alarms, assuming you have no wired alarms, of course, then you have to go back in there and either install wired smoke alarms or the 10-year battery alarms. Well, how do you do that? How do you even start enforcing a warrant of habitability? Well, you have to be allowed in the building. You can't operate as a landlord if you can't efficiently warrant habitability to your tenants. It's the #1 golden law in the state of New York, and no one is arguing the warrant of habitability. How do you enforce it? This is the second nugget that I think might work, and no one's tried it. We all say, I gave the tenants 24 hours notice or 3 days notice to get in their apartment, and they won't let me in. And then they sit back and they do nothing, or they give them a 30-day notice to quit. Mistake. You give them a 10-day to cure to let you in, because the 10-day to cure will work for you to enforce the warrant of habitability. It's a fact. It's already in law.
Because you are doing what you can, to remedy the situation, and the tenants are preventing. Look, the trustee is saying, everyone, and excellent points, is that we have to be able to show the court that we as landlords have exercised every possibility to correct the warranty of habitability on our own. If we do not do that, we can be held liable under the warranty of habitability, and we'll have to put them up in a hotel or anything that may happen. Now, the trustee, I digress. We had a case a number of years ago where the warranty of habitability was proven by the tenants that it was really bad. Mold in the apartment. It was over the summertime. They went from their apartment. They were in court. I was out in the hall. I worked it out with the tenants. The landlord was not there. My office with my team represented them in court. And here's what happened when we talk about the warranty of habitability. The tenant, the woman was pregnant. She owed money for rent. They owed money for rent, and they had a hotel bill to prove that they had to go to a hotel. I worked it out with them that they owed no rent. The landlord owes them no money for the hotel, and that agreement would solidify any future cases related to their tenancy in that apartment, all future cases. So if later on down the line, the situation arose that baby came out, unfortunately, with health issues, that the landlord would not be held accountable because the tenant waived their rights for all of that in court. Now, I don't know if that will hold up now, but when it comes to the warranty of habitability with the smoke detectors, the electrical, the water, the plumbing, the hot water tank, if not, the president is saying you give that 10-day notice, and that 10-day notice should be so clear that everybody that reads it knows exactly what needs to be done, why you need to do it, and they prevent you from doing it. When they prevent you from doing it, now it leads into what the president is saying right now. Go ahead.
So you gave them the 10-day notice that they didn't honor the agreement that they had to let you in with reasonable notice. So now you have a reason to quit, except you're not going to give them a 30-day notice to quit, because right now you can go ahead and go to court for nuisance because they won't let you in to warrant habitability. So that would be your next step, not just notice to quit, because that's what we all end up doing. You want to say, hey, I've got a nuisance case. The house is unsafe. I could be held criminally liable if there's a fire and someone dies. They're not letting me in. Here's my evidence of phone calls, my letters of requested in, my 10-day notice to cure to get in. Now, if you get in, take photos. If you're in the hallway and they're blocking the doorways, that's warrant of habitability. Take a picture of the blocked hallway. Then argue you want to get in to empty it. Argue you want to get in to check their smoke detectors, that you're doing your warrant of habitability examination because you're obligated every day of the year to warrant that, or you could go to jail for life. And so we've not tried that. I haven't read anyone try this route. So anyone who's looking to do a nuisance case between now and August 31st, you want to try the warrant of habitability. Now, if I may go on a little more, the purpose why I brought this up is because they want to change that law. You guessed it. So Lopresti finds the loophole, and I found it because they want to change it. And I said, what do they need to change? It's pretty powerful. Why would they want to change it? Because
it benefit the tenant.
Well, it can, but it still could benefit us. You just have to learn the new rule. And I can best describe this as a husband and wife breaking up and there's a custody battle coming. Whoever gets to the court first usually gets custody. You ever heard that line? Who files first, who accuses first, wins. So they want to change the law so that tenants can petition the landlords of warrants of habitability, where the courts would get their rent money instead of you, and then the tenants could ask the changes they want made, and the court, through that rent money, would pay for that, and you'd have no control over any of it. So you want to be using this warrant of habitability, and you want to be documenting when they are breaching it, because that's your number one defense. Every time they block the doorway, that's a breach. Every time the water is continuously running, which could cause mold, that's a breach, because they won't let you in. They won't tell you the water's running all the time. The tenant is responsible to inform you of certain things, and when they don't and a problem starts, you can argue they breached the warrant of habitability if you file first. So we need to be focusing daily, managing our tenants based on these rules. Smoke alarms, water running, doorways blocked. How about garbage? How about garbage and food? It brings in vermin, brings in ants, brings in cockroaches. That's a safety hazard to other tenants in the building. If it's a one-family house, you can still argue that a lease says for every leaseholder, they're can have one non-person and their family. You still have to give warrant of habitability to all those individuals. The key is you have to write it up that way. You have to say to the judge, I need to get in, or you need to evict them. They are a nuisance. There are lives at stake, and I should not be held accountable for a breach in the warrant of habitability. Can you imagine a judge saying, you know what? I don't care if the house burns down and they die. I'm not giving you the eviction on the nuisance. I'll go to the newspaper and say, the judge won't let me protect my other tenants in the building. That's a story, because no one's written it the way I'm writing it right now, the way I'm saying it right now. I hope somebody's listening and they're taking notes and they're saying, tomorrow we're going to start this process. I'm going to send a letter to the tenant saying, please let me in on Saturday. I need to warrant habitability of the building. I need to check the furnace, make sure it's not leaking oil, make sure the smoke detectors are proper, make sure doorways aren't blocked. And if you don't let me in, I can't warrant the habitability. I'm asking for 3 o'clock on a Saturday. I'm giving you a whole week's notice to let me in. When they don't, then I'm going to serve them a 10-day notice to cure. What is the cure? Let me in. No one's tried it. No one's tried it.
The other thing that would benefit you if you go that route is that you should also have from your local court office, or not court office, but code office, a rental certificate, a certificate of occupancy. We had a case today where the tenant will not allow code in to do an inspection. So we asked our client, did you pay for the rental? Yes, I did. I said, as long as you paid to get the rental certificate and the tenant will not let you in, that will benefit you. Now, Trev has a question here. And Trev, believe it or not, we have a client today at my desk in that same position. When the tenant has been arrested for harassment based upon his behavior, the landlord lives downstairs, and that person has been arrested, and we put that in our petition papers. Now, what you do is, what if you have a holdover case and they're being a nuisance now? That's what we had. We had one when we gave them the holdover notice to move up in the end of May. They extended the moratorium, so now we put in the reasons why. We're hoping that the case will go forward because we did not mention it in the predicate notice to move out for nuisance. We did not mention that, but we didn't expect them to extend the moratorium even longer. You have the order of protection. By having that, you already have a nuisance already built in. The court believed that the relationship between the two of you was a nuisance. Something happened between the two of you that necessitated the order of protection. So I would bring that as a reason to get him out for that alone.
Excellent.
Now I know we had some other ones there when it came to the warranty of habitability. You want to make sure that you as a landlord do not have issues as a landlord of having issues in your apartments in many other cases or with code enforcement. If you are, and I will tell you right now, we have clients who have property that I would not even let my cat live on, let alone a human. Those people already have a reputation in code. So the very important warranty of habitability case, as LaPresta has mentioned, will not help you because you will have a history in the court of being a bad landlord. This will work for a good landlord, though.
I'll add to that. Everyone's worried about if you don't accept the relief funds, you have a discrimination case against you. But if you've been documenting that the tenants have been breaching the warrant of habitability, and I will say this, I have awesome tenants. They breach it all the time. I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen the doorway blocked with garbage that they got to bring out the next morning. I snap a picture. All I got to do is document that they're constantly breaching this warranty of habitability. You ain't got discrimination at all now. I've got proof they won't let me in. I've done 10-day cures. There's no discrimination here. This is a tenant who will not honor the warrant of habitability. And now discrimination is out the door. So I say to everyone, if you start documenting the mistakes your tenant makes when it comes push to shove to that court date or that relief money, and you want to say no because you're worried about discrimination, you've built up a case where this has nothing to do with discrimination. This is about a tenant who just won't comply. They're not a good fit. They're not following the rules that they should be, and they need to go. There's no discrimination here. So documenting, just like employers do. Employers document employees so that they don't get accused of discrimination or sexual abuse. That's why they'll do a little write-up, and then they don't fire you for a year. They don't care. They just want it there in case they need to use it against you someday. So you got to do the rough thing. You got to start documenting even your good tenants. You got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to.
Now, you had mentioned about documenting everything and also regarding a nuisance case. We've had cases where the representatives who are working with landlords and tenants to get this ERAP money have called our office up and said, does your client want to apply? I said, no, we have a holdover. We're set for court. It's whether it be a holdover nuisance. The warrant has been signed. We are not going forward. Don't even apply for the money because this has got nothing to do with rent. When you take them to court for a nuisance and a nuisance holdover, not just a holdover. It has to be a nuisance holdover. A holdover you cannot take if the money is offered for a year later. After you get the money, as we mentioned to you earlier in our video, you can't do it. Whereas with a nuisance, that's what it is, but you have to document. And a nuisance, it's not small. And we had a client in today who said that they want the tenant to move because there's issues. They want to fix up the place. I said, do you have a rental? Yes. I said, show it to me. The rental certificate from the city. They had it. I said, well, the apartment's going to the city. What are the issues that the tenant is causing that makes you have to get them out? The question that they had was, well, cat hair in the ducts, in the ductwork. I said, that's not something you can evict for.
No.
There's companies out there that will suck that stuff right out of the vents. We've had landlords who have said, well, the tenant is smoking. Now, yes, we do call that a lease violation. The problem is, as you see, Rosanna, we have told our clients, the judge is not going to take off their robe, drive to your house, and smell for smoke. They're not going to do it. So any issue that the press mentions that Rosanna has dealt with in her case, and you out there in the landlord world have dealt with, you have to document everything. And document everything as minor as you think it was. I am a former New York State licensed private investigator. I am. And I would have clients come to me with their cases, and they would withhold information from me, thinking, oh, it wasn't important. And I say, that's not your role. You tell me everything, and I will decide what is not important. That one little thing that you had that you consider as a, oh, well, let the court decide the validity and the significance of that argument that you have. Because what you may think is not enough may be all you need. Now, the Preston, what you mentioned too, is some code enforcement officers, some building inspectors officers, they are laissez-faire when it comes to this. We had one house in a low-income area in one of our cities that there was a notice to vacate. There was no electricity. The tenants could be there during the day, but not at night. They were there at night with candles. On my way to my office, I could see this one morning, black smoke in the air. They burned down the house with candles. Come to find out, they were allowed to be there to do whatever repairs were necessary. And what angered me above all else is what grounds do they have? That is the buildings department, the building inspector, to validate the ability and the qualifications of these tenants to do these necessary repairs. They should not have been allowed to do that. A notice to vacate is a notice to vacate. They should not be there. The problem that many of us have in our area, and maybe in the area that you are watching us here now in America, is that when you call the police department for help, they won't help. Or you call the police and they say it's a civil matter. Or you call them and say there's a notice to vacate. In our city, it's a red notice, red paper. That should be enough, nothing more than that notice to give to the police to say there's people inside, can't come out. But they don't. And code enforcement is not there at 10 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning to see a light bulb or a flashlight going in and out of the window.
Nope.
You know that there's somebody there. You can see it, you can hear it, you can smell it.
Yep.
But we have to get government on board to enforce these rules. So like one of our people said here, what happens when you go to court and the court doesn't even bother? Let me see if we have it here.
Yeah, but Matt, those questions, I can answer that. As
Go
long
ahead.
as long as you're doing your part, you can't be sued.
Yes.
You can't be held criminally liable. So everyone who thinks it's a waste of time, judge won't help me, you can still be sued. And you can still be held criminally liable. So you don't have a choice. You need to do it for yourself, to protect yourself and your own assets, to constantly be looking at the warrant of habitability. And you can write that up in an affidavit. You can say that so that the judge or the fire department or the code enforcer has read all your attempts to, in good faith, warrant habitability. So when it comes crunch time and something bad happens or the tenant files a complaint, you have a defense of good faith and good attempt. And guess what? You can't be found guilty. There's no lawsuit. There's no criminal liability. If the house burns down, if they were trying to race out of the building because of a fire and the garbage was in the way and they broke their leg, the fact that you said, hey, I tried to get in, they said no. I did a 10-day cure to let me in, they said no. I mentioned that these things need to be resolved. I tried to get in to resolve them. I tried to go to court. The judge said too bad. I called the code enforcer. They said too bad. You need to document all this to protect you.
And a good way to do that. Oh, go ahead, Rosanna.
I have a question. So in my particular case, right, she was told that the construction had to happen because it was a safety issue. She was told that she couldn't overload the circuits, and she did, and then she blew it, and she was told that the breakers could not be changed out again. The electrician said, I will not change it out again because there's shorts on the line where the wall has to be opened. She has chosen not to leave.
I know, but I heard your story and I heard why you can't win this argument that I just brought up. You're
Why?
a special case because you don't intend to keep the apartment. You have no intention to do the repairs.
That's correct.
And so if you are a landlord who doesn't want to keep the apartment or do the repairs, everything I just brought up is mute.
But I have violations that say I have to remove the apartment.
I'm just saying, then maybe if you could present all that in a brand new petition and argue your 10-day cure for her to leave, your 10-day cure to go in and disconnect certain electrical lines because they might start a fire.
Yeah.
I mean, if you played this game and cried, oh my goodness, she could die, Judge, and wrote it in your affidavit, everything I just argued, and then the judge said rejects it, then I think we've got a full-page story. I think that, the judge might want to reconsider, and you might say, look, I need to protect my criminal liability, and I believe you can sue the judge. I actually was going to bring that up. I think you can sue a judge in New York State who denies you the protection of culpability for warrant of habitability if it means death. I do believe that. And so they can't put you in a position where you're going to go to jail for 30 years because you tried to do your job on an implied law. Remember, this particular law is not only written, but implied. The moment you sign a lease, whether it's in there or not, everything I just said, you are required to maintain. And I would also suggest landlords to start including a whole section in their lease called warrant of habitability and how they could breach that. How you could point out blocking doorways, taking batteries out of smoke alarms, things like that. You're breaching my warrant. And there's a nice family upstairs with a little girl. A fire comes and the judge wouldn't let you get rid of the nuisance tenant downstairs and she dies upstairs. You're going to get sued. So I say if the judge says, I'm not giving you the nuisance case, I'm not giving you the eviction, I believe you can sue the judge. Article 78, I'm not sure what it is in every county.
It's Article 78.
Mm-hmm.
Article 78, you are putting me in a position of criminal liability. And I know the Constitution does protect landlords from criminal liability. And a fire is a criminal liability in the state of New York. Your building burns down. The cause was you didn't install smoke alarms. You can go to jail. So, Judge, you're either going to let me in to warrant habitability or I'm suing you because I'm not going to be held criminally liable. That's going to get the judge's attention in this state. So I'm saying I spent a week on this. I have found not one person who has tried what I just said tonight. I believe this is the loophole. And that's why right now, which I wanted to finish, right now they're trying to change that law. So if you're all asking, well, what is that? It's Assembly Bill 3241. They are trying to change it right now. And I'll tell you why. Because I found the loophole where you get to be in court. You could probably get into court with, what do they call it? If it's an emergency, when you have an emergency application, habeas corpus, you might be able to get in on habeas corpus if you can prove imminent danger to other tenants because you can't warrant habitability. And I think there's a case here. I think I found the loophole. And that's why there are 7 people right now in the assembly who took a bill written in January. That's right, in January. And just in the past week, they've been messing with it big time. I can give you guys the updates on it if you like. So it's 3341, and this is what's been happening. It's sat dormant from January 22nd until May 26th. And then it was referred to codes, housing codes. I wonder why. And now it's gone back to the assembly and referred to rules because they got to make sure when they change this law that there's no conflict because the warrant of habitability has a lot of sections. It's not just section 235B, folks. There's other sections in Article 7 that relates to dwelling laws in New York State. And for those of you in New York City, I broke it up. In New York City, it's called the multiple dwelling law, or Suffolk County or whatever. And if you're everywhere else in New York, it's called the multiple residence law. And if your local city has a inspection requirement for your building, that is covered under warrant of habitability. They can't deny a landlord to protect his tenants if it means he's criminally liable. So they're trying to change the law. If anybody's listening and hasn't filed a petition yet for a nuisance case, and you write an affidavit saying what I just said, I don't want to be held criminally liable. I have a 4-year-old little girl on the second floor. They won't let me go in the house to make sure the smoke alarms are working. I could be held criminally liable. So if you're not going to let me in, I want it on record so I'm free of this breach. And you can sue a judge for the breach of warrant of habitability under Article 78.
What you want to do with that is the multiple residency laws, Article 3, it's 301, I'm sorry, it's 302.1.1.
Oh, good.
Is the New York State. Because we have to put out all of our petitions. Then upon information and belief, the property falls under multiple residency law, section 302-1-1. Now, also what you want to do with what the president is saying here, you want to involve the government as soon as you can. You want to put them on notice of this. The rental certificate, the certificate of occupancy helps
That's
you.
a big key, the occupancy permit. This law doesn't apply if you don't have an occupancy permit.
Right,
you could require the tenant to let you in to get the permit. Did you know that? Even though they're doing COVID and they won't do the inspection, you can argue to the judge, I still need it inspected. I need the occupancy permit, or I can't warrant habitability. And if you're not going to let me warrant habitability, then the building should be temporarily condemned. You need to evict the tenants. A landlord can ask for that because they don't want to be held criminally liable. And I guarantee you will be held liable.
You have to have a tenant in occupancy in a lot of areas, and then the rental certificate is in their name. Now, in the city of Albany, New York, the capital of New York, the certificate of occupancy is for the dwelling itself. In the city of Schenectady, New York, it is in the name of the tenant. So in your municipality, and we can't go over every one because there's so many in New York and everywhere else, you have to determine what is necessary in your municipality. Does it cover the building? Does it cover the tenant? How long of duration of time does it cover? You want to make sure that the tenant and occupancy has some kind of certification. Now, when you do what the Presti is saying, the one thing that we have done at an illegal apartments, I doubt that will cover it. One of the things that you must do when you want to go after the tenant for this, as far as wanting habitability. And I've done this at training seminars. I did it at a training seminar at Turnerstone Casino with hundreds of landlords. As I told you, if you have an issue with your tenant and you want to evict them, or you have an issue regarding the warranty of habitability, and I went up to a few people and I put my finger in their face and I said, shut your mouth, shut your mouth, shut your mouth. Do not run your mouth, landlords, to your tenants. I'm going to evict you. I have issues with you.
Totally agree.
The first thing that they're going to do is code enforcement.
Yep.
And the moment they call code enforcement on you, if they took that, the process said, they who move first usually win.
That's
if
right.
Your tenant moves forward and contacts code and says, well, even though you are valid in what you want to get them out.
Yep.
The moment you've done that, this can be seen as what's called as a retaliatory eviction.
So you try to get in nicely. You don't have to tell the tenant that if I get desperate, I'm going to go the rough way through the court. They don't need to know that. You can tell the court later, hey, they won't let me in. And if the tenant later says, well, if they told us that was the reason why. Listen, I have an obligation for the safety. Can you let me in to check the smoke alarms? That's all you need to say. That's all you need to say. You don't need to say anything else. So if later it turns out you added more, and the tenant says, if you just told me that, it's none of their business. You don't need to share that with them.
That's right.
And the judge can't go, well, you need to tell them all the reasons why you'd want to get in. I only need one. Warrant of habitability. I want to check your smoke alarms to make sure they work.
And go into it
I
at a
don't need to
friendly,
share the rest. Right.
and make it go friendly. I just want to check your smoke detectors. Act
Oh,
like
that's
they're your
right.
best friend. You may
Clean
not
your
like, right, you may not like the tenant, and that's okay. But don't go in like, the Incredible Hulk. Go in. I just want to make sure your smoke detectors work. That's all.
Or your furnace is clean.
Right.
So
I
it's
just want to
giving
make
you
sure.
clean air. So it's giving you clean air, right?
And that'll get you into the apartment, hopefully. And in New York State, even on the phone call, it is a one notification only. So if you're recording the conversation, only one party needs to be made aware of that.
That's correct.
If you had, like myself, I have a pocket here. Hi. You're not letting go like, because then they're going to know you're recording them. Just shut your mouth and have your phone on, record your conversation if you have a pocket like I do, and then you have recording. I wear a body camera, but you don't need to spend a few $100s on that landlord. But I have a body camera when we deal with it, and
I
they
have
know.
a USB stick. I have a USB stick. It records, so nobody even knows.
Wow. Show us. Do you have it with you?
This isn't the record. It looks just like this one. It looks just like this one.
And it's that
but
small.
It actually records, and you can't tell it records. Yes, and you can plug it in to charge it and take the audio file off immediately.
And
you
what
can
did
buy
it
them.
cost? About
You can $24.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And I love it because no tenant will think anything. So I can actually put the USB stick on the table while I'm writing a receipt and talking to them. And I get the recording every time.
Yes.
So somebody asked why it can't be 5 days. Because New York state law says they get 10 days to cure. You got to give them 10 days. And it's 10 days when they're served. Not 10 days when you were told you can't get in, that they won't let you in. Because you asked nicely. You got to officially serve them and document the full 10 days. And then you say, hey, I gave them 10 days to cure to let me in after I asked. And the law says they got to let me in. You can use a 10-day cure, to show your house for sale. You can use your 10-day cure for any reason you want to other than rent. So why aren't we using it? Because we never thought about using 10-day cure just to let me in the basement. Who thought of that? But you got 10 days to abide by the lease and let me in that basement since I'm already allowed by law to get in with less than 24 hours notice. So what's it going to be? And now you've got a violation. But the courts don't want to evict people for that. But if it's because you're criminally liable for a fire and you want to inspect the smoke detector in the furnace and you want to make sure that the house is warrant of habitability, that changes the whole eviction argument. And I would not do the 30-day quit. Once the 10-day fails, I'm filing an eviction for nuisance because they won't let me in to warrant habitability. That's the key. That's how I think it has to be written. You make one mistake, the judge will find a back door and they'll throw your place away. Yes.
They will.
So anyway, I hope it works because I haven't seen anybody try it. But I've spent weeks and months. And when I found this and I saw they were trying to change the law, I just sat there all day. I sat all day thinking, why do they got to change the warrant of habitability? And then I said, nuisance. I'm criminally liable. Wow. Yeah. It helps if it's a multi-dwelling. I won't lie. The single-family residence, you may have trouble. But if it's a multiple dwelling, it's game over. I got a 4-year-old up there. I need to make sure that smoke detector works because if she dies, I'm not going to jail for her death. You will, judge, right?
We had a property here in our city where a number of years ago, I think it was 2015, it was a multi-unit building, an apartment building. The property manager managed the property. There were issues in the property, and the building ended up, a tenant caught his apartment on fire. There were code violations, and then that building caused another building to burn down, and 4 people died in this horrendous fire. And the property manager in the case had been cited, and he pled guilty to 4 counts of criminally negligent homicide. Was he guilty? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was. So, and he didn't dot his I's or cross his T's. And what the press is sharing with all of us here is you got to document everything. It may be anal, and you might say, "Oh my God, how come? Oh my God!" You document everything, because when you do, it will cover you. You bring that documentation, and when you go to court, bring documentation, a copy for the tenant and a copy for the court, and you have it well organized. And the more organized you are, the better your case will be in court. Don't have paper all over. Go ahead.
You got precedent for that too, because the judge wants to see your receipt book. They want to know all the months you've collected the rent for the past year, so they can see what you were charging rent. So if the judge wants to see my receipt book, I'll let him see all my visits to the building and every time the warranty of habitability was breached. Why not? Let's hold somebody accountable, because according to that law, that's a serious offense in New York State for a landlord to be found guilty of a breach of warrant of habitability.
Oh, yes.
So
Billy asked
me in to fix the leaking natural gas leak on the furnace. You can't let me in because water's leaking, causing mold. You won't let me in to make sure that battery's working and that smoke detector. You're causing me a risk to be criminally liable and go to jail, and that little girl upstairs die. So, Judge, what's it gonna be?
Yeah.
Let me in. And I guarantee you, when they let you in, even if it gets rejected and they say, fine, we'll let you in, but we're not going to evict, you'll get another reason. Trust me, you'll go in there and you got your camera. And let me tell you, where it stinks, it stinks. So if there's a reason why you're trying to get in there, there's something to be found. Trust me.
And the great thing, too, with government and code enforcement, building inspector, when you go to apply for the rental certificate and the government says the tenant refuses to let the inspector in, when you go to court,
That's a
you
defect.
can have the inspector come to court and testify on your behalf that Rosanna refused to let you in, so her allegations are moot. Because one, we've shown that we've tried to do the things and
Good
she won't
faith.
let us.
It's called good faith, yes. It's called a defense. You automatically win.
Right,
Thank
because you
goodness.
had the government on your side. Now, Billy asks, is a landlord-tenant home considered multiple? In most jurisdictions, if it's a two-family and the owner lives in one and you rent out the other, it's not multiple. If it's more than three, in our area, more than three is considered a multiple home.
All you got to do is look up the classification on your tax bill. It'll say if it's a single-family residence or multi-family residence, or it'll say seasonal residence too, or it'll say temporary. I mean, they classify all our buildings, even for fire. If your house is built with brick, you're considered a fireproof building. If you're built with sticks, you're not fireproof. So all that information you can get on your own very easily.
One of the things in our area, if it's an owner-occupied two residences, you don't need a rental certificate. It's not necessary. So you need to check, and that question is so broad.
In Columbusville, it is now.
What's
in
that?
Columbusville, New York,
Columbusville?
actually, they have the right to inspect the apartment that you're not living in.
Yeah. And they're looking to pass, and some jurisdictions
They
have this.
too, because the basement might be heating their apartment. The electricity's coming from the basement to their apartment. So basically, I just don't have to let them in my own apartment, but fire department gets to see everything else. Yeah. Without a warrant. By the way, this is without a warrant. All this stuff. So it's amazing the risk we're taking when we don't document or don't use this avenue when tenants won't let us in. You're taking a big risk. You could be sued for not getting into that building. Yes.
Now, one of the questions that Tom asked here, does the 10-day notice secure need to be served or can it be via certified mail? One of the things that we say, and it's not because my business does this, is that we always suggest that you have a third party involved, somebody who's not a party to the action.
Do all three.
Right, absolutely.
Do all three.
Certified.
First class mail, certified mail. Four. First class mail, certified mail, take to the door and pay someone to serve them. Why? Because I'm going to guarantee I win. I don't care if it costs $6 extra for the certified mail delivery confirmation. Spend the $6, do all four. first class mail, certified mail, taped to the door, and someone served them. You can tell the judge, I hit them every way but lose. They know to let me in. Yeah.
One of the things that we do is that when you hire firms, and I'm not promoting my business, I'm busy enough as it is. When you hire a private firm such as mine, you're going to get someone that will serve that document, and it will be sent certified in regular mail from the third party. So you're going to be able to prove that you've done it. And some agencies like mine, we use a professional mailing service like stamps.com. So we can go back many years ago and prove what day and time and the number and all of that. So for those landlords who say, I'll just throw it in the mail with a stamp, you have no proof that you did that.
Stamps.com will record all that, Matt?
What's that?
You said stamps.com will document all that?
I have one that's called
I didn't know
Indicia.
that.
Yeah, Indicia, Endica.
Wow.
Indicia is the firm that I use. It costs me like $10 a month.
That's a good
And
deal.
it prints right on the envelopes. The first class, the certified. The only thing with the certified is you still have to fill out that little green and white card.
Yeah.
But you don't have to go to the post office. You literally don't have to, which is great because where my office is located, you walk up the door and 5 feet away is the mailbox. So I didn't even go to the post. I haven't gone to the post office in years. I
Good
love
for
it.
you. God bless you.
Now here is this woman that just commented, and I'm going to get personal here. This woman right here is a friend of mine for years. I adore her. Her name is Harleen. She is a member of my team. Harleen is a real estate broker who practices, her main practice is leasing and brokeraging, thank you, apartments, management, and finding tenants for landlords. That is what Harleen does. We are dear friends. I was just at her house Friday for dinner. Had a great time. We worked very well together. So Harleen, when she says my work is impeccable, she knows she better say that. She knows she better say that. She is, I'm not going to say a member of my team. And my team has, she's a member. I have a few members of my team. We have over 100 years of experience in the industry.
Amen.
Yeah, over 100 years. And we bring that to all of you to share that with you because we absolutely care. And Harleen, over dinner, we talked about dividends that have transpired against landlords. We pick each other's brains. I will say I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And if I did, the two of you would not be on my show today. Other guests would not be here if I knew everything. I don't. I'm smart enough to know that I need people like you two on my show and people making comments like Harleen to help us do what we do to help the people that need help. And that's why we're here. And we are going to do more shows. This is the first time that we've done it with guests, and I guarantee you it will not be the last. We could be doing this every week. The more people that we have participate, the more questions that we ask, the person you can come on and bring up another topic. Like the one that I'd like to talk about maybe next time when we do a show is the rental registration, the landlord registration that they're talking about.
All right.
We're going to do that to a video. With YouTube, I cannot actually have guests on like on YouTube. Well, I could, and you're in the studio. I haven't learned how to do that yet. But here, this video will be going to YouTube, and it will be played over and over again for people to watch. And we're going to bring on other guests. And let's see. Is it,
Rental registration. Okay, I'll work on it.
Yeah. Holly, yes, he does, and I trust him. What are you getting at? I love this woman. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. Gotta go. Oh, yes. One of the things that, and we will talk about, and we were going to bring on Tom. Tom, who of Old Home Ventures, is Tom Vandor. He is the treasurer of the Capital District Association of Rental Property Owners in upstate New York, in the Albany area. They're very active, and actually, he says, join us this Thursday at 7 if you wish. I know that I was invited to be on another show in Canada for landlords, but I made up jumping over there to help with Kajapo. And then, like I mentioned earlier, before we leave, we had mentioned before about the lawsuit in New York State. It is being hosted by, let me see if we have any. Let me jump up to this banner that we had here before. NY Landlords is on Facebook. It is one of the many organizations, many groups that I belong to on social media, but it is one of the most active ones that I participate in. That's why I get a lot of my friends here, and the two that are here right now on the show with me, we interact a lot there, and we interact privately. I know that a lot of you may have reached out to me on to become a friend on Facebook and to have private chats with me, and I'm flattered and I love you for doing that, but frankly, I don't have the time. Because I do run a very successful business and I'm a landlord and I do this. So I may not friend request you on that because I like what you ask to be shared in open forum, such as NY Landlords and Landlords Only, so that more people can see the answer to the question that you pose to me and my friends here on the channel right now and on this show right now. Now, the lawsuit that they had, there has been some discussion about the lawsuit is to sue the state of New York regarding the eviction moratorium and the continuation of this oppressive and extorted act by the government. It's a lawsuit where there is a retainer being asked for, which is legitimate. You have to pay. You're not going to expect the attorney to work for free. Not going to happen. They're asking that you contribute to NY Landlords and a GoFundMe page at that. The worry that landlords had was that if the retainer fee does not reach the goal that they were seeking, which it should, but just in case it doesn't, they were worried, would they be able to get their money back? And we have assurances from DEMA, NASAC, and Mike Soifer from NY Landlords, my fellow administrators, that the money would be returned to you. So you have no loss here. All we can do is win. Will we win the lawsuit? If I could answer that question, I'd be a trillionaire. I wouldn't need to be here. I would be a trillionaire, and I could just wish all of you the best of luck. So we can't guarantee that we're going to win. We've had a hard time in New York. As we know, New York is a blue state, whether you elect to hear it or not. It is. It is a pro-tenant state. They don't like us. You know, in the press, they don't. They will say that they do, but they don't. We'll do a video shortly with Michelle Hinchy, who was Maurice Hinchy's daughter from the Hudson Valley region of New York. She sent out prior to being elected about how the moratorium is going to help tenants and help. Well, I received an email from her the end of May indicating that, well, no landlord should have to put up with tenants not paying rent. Well, Michelle, and I'm going to give a little hint on the video. Well, Michelle, if you feel that way, why did you vote to extend the eviction moratorium? I'm waiting for an answer, Michelle. I can't hear you. Maybe you might want to come on our next show to explain yourself. How about you, Phil Stepp? How about you explaining yourself? You as an attorney, you as a landlord who have voted consistently for these laws that have been applied to landlords. Are we asking all legislators to be fair? Yes, they are. But these laws are anything but fair. They're anything but fair. If we can go into court and argue this. Now, here's the point here, my friends, that I did not mention earlier, and it is so important. It is so important. You cannot be evicted until September 1st if they sign the declaration. Then why is it that we cannot apply for a court date now? Right. Get the warrant of eviction stayed until September 1st. We should be able to do that right now.
Well, there is an answer for that.
What's that?
That's what I've read. There is an answer for that. I've read the answer.
To extend the moratorium.
New York State is trying to save the paperwork because they truly believe in the relief fund that they designed, and they believe half of those will be resolved. So why take up the court time? Because once the landlord gets his money, they won't evict anymore. So
well, here's why we don't take up the court's time. And I get along with our judges. I get along with them personally. But that being said, prior to the courts opening up slowly now, what the hell have you been doing for the last 16 months? You've been getting a paycheck. Now, I say that with respect. I get along great with our judges. I've known them for years. One of our city court judges now is on the Court of Appeals. She's a sweetheart. Her name is Christine Clark. She's a great lady. She was on city court, got along with them great. What I say is not personal to our judges. Well, we get along super. It's being that now you have to work hard. You have to adjudicate these cases. Stop letting the legislature decide for you. And that's what this moratorium has done. And it's removed the ability for the court to make a decision that you are not suffering under the COVID-19 hardship. It's a presumptive rebuttal that you are without having judicial intervention to prove that you're not. And, you know, we can say all about them withholding it so that the tenants can maybe get rent relief. Well, if we're in court and I can't evict you until September 1st, you have a few months, New York State government, to get me the money that the tenant owes me. If you can't get me the money, then let me evict. If the eviction is based upon non-payment of rent and the government is willing to pay me everything, I'm happy. Thank you very much. I'm getting my money. But don't make me wait until September 1st to file, because then it could be into Halloween before we say happy Halloween, goodbye. Or when this ERAP program now, how many months is going to add on to it? Are we going to be saying, giving the tenant the warrant of eviction with a Christmas bow on it? And that's why this lawsuit needs to go through, because some of our people, we would hope that this is over with on August 31st. But with all of this other stuff being played around on this coconut shell game, by taking us to court now, could very well stop the bullshit that will happen later on to us landlords by doing this case now. You have no worry about losing your money. Losing the case, sure, that's always a possibility. But we have no opportunity of losing the case if we don't bring the case to court. Now, the moratorium, the first case that was denied, was done on June 29th, 2020 in New York State. And I did an hour-long video when that happened on our YouTube channel, that it was denied because it was temporary. Well, 18 months is not temporary any longer. So the possibility of winning this lawsuit, even though some of the causes of action are similar to what happened in June of 2020, May of 2020. The dynamics have changed because the duration of time has been extended for so long. And the arguments that our legal team that we're working with, the attorney that's handling it is not our legal team at all, but we work together because, like you said, Rosanna, we're a family here. We are a family. And we are working with them and Dima and Mike that there may be an opportunity here to say, listen, it's not temporary anymore. We're losing money left and right. So the argument that it's temporary has been removed. And the same argument that was brought up in June or May of last year, which we did not win, we might very well win with your support of your dollars. And not only your dollars, call your legislators up, as we have done. As I know my friends here have done. I know many of you have done the same thing, but not enough. Not enough. If you have, and you have to. It's a simple 10-digit number, damn it. You call and let them know. Go ahead. I'm sorry. You guys add.
Matt, I want to address the person in the comments here just real quick to piggyback on your comments here. So this person is saying that they think the reason why we have so few viewership is because some of the comments are not being addressed here. So what I want to suggest is, this was our first live stream. And, if you've ever led a Zoom meeting, it's very difficult to lead the meeting or be a speaker and to address the commentary. So what I would like to propose for the next live stream is to have a moderator read the questions when we break. And I would be more than happy to do that. Because I understand what this person is saying. It's not intentional by any stretch. This is our first live stream. And we appreciate everybody participating and watching tonight and asking the questions. I think next time we'll have a moderator that can go ahead and read those questions off so that the folks that are on the show speaking can address those questions.
And that was here with our friend here, and you're right, Rosanna, that was here with our friend here, JCM. I think the reason we have so few viewers is that our voice is heard. Right. If I had everyone on this show at the same time, it could become a hullabaloo.
No, I think it was she wanted the comments addressed, Matthew. That's what it was. And it's difficult to address the comments.
We've got a couple questions, but I think we could answer them. She wants to know if there's a difference between an illegal apartment and an illegal apartment. I don't know if you feel better answering that one, Matt, but
no, go right ahead. There's a big difference.
My understanding of the law is right now, there's no enforcement with COVID. There's no evictions it doesn't matter. You can't go, well, it's an illegal apartment, you got a victim. So, you know, if somebody's in a garage, if somebody's living in your car, I've heard some people laugh, but if they get in your car and they're there more than, you know, so many days is required by law, it becomes a place of residence.
Yeah.
There's nobody going to make them leave with COVID right now.
Yep.
Not unless you argue nuisance.
That's correct.
Which I think the warrant of habitability is your nuisance argument to get people out of illegal apartments, to get people out of apartments who could be causing harm or death, safety to others, which that law says you can go to court for that reason. So she also wants to know, there was another question. She wants to know if being landlords is a dangerous business. It wasn't until recently.
Yeah.
I've been doing this 10 years. I know you've been doing this over 30, Matt. There's, you know, I've had good times, and I can say I've had awesome tenants in the past. Friends with them. I'll sit and eat dinner with them. They've called me to help them. They own their own house, and they're calling me to come over and help them with their dishwasher. And you know what? I went over there and helped them with their dishwasher. So there is some joy, and some tenants will praise you and say you're a good landlord, especially if you're willing to take their call at 2 a.m. and you don't get mad, you know. So the laws have made it more dangerous. I won't lie there. They've made it harder for
They
us.
have. But the comment on the screen here, Tom, I thank Tom a lot because I was going to go on cruises when I retired. In 2011, he encouraged us to go on a cruise, and we went. I will tell you, that since I lived and breathed evictions, I have not been on any vacation of any sort going on 10 years. Not a weekend getaway, not a cruise, nothing. My last one was January of 2012, was my last time.
We need to do a special fund for you so you can go on vacation.
It's more of me that I live and breathe this. There are times I'm on social media at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. So I appreciate Tom saying that because we have had some clients in our office who have questioned, you know, are we getting this done, getting that done? And I'm like, listen, we are so dedicated to the cause that we spend our lives doing this. Listen, and I don't want anybody to feel that we are not hearing you or responding. Like Rosanna has said, she would be able to moderate and bring those questions on the screen. This is my first time using live stream, which is a great program. Let me see it here. It's a great program, but unfortunately, it is the first time that I've ever used it. So unfortunately, let me see, I'm going to try to pull it up here. Here it is. It's the first time using StreamYard. It's a great program, but we've never done it before. So as Rosanna said, I'm not only recording all of this, looking at who's leaving comments, who's asking some questions. I'm seeing that, and I'm also helping to educate. So forgive us that we may have lost your comment. It was not intentional by any stretch. Not intentional, but I'm willing to keep going if anybody has any questions. Let's see. Too many complacent landlords out there. One of the things that we have seen with Tom's comment here with complacent landlords is I have said at landlord meetings when I address Rosanna's problem to you, LaPresti, you might say, well, nothing I have. It's not in my life right now. And the argument that I have made, and I will do until the day I die, is that Rosanna's problem today, if we don't fix your problem today, will be your problem tomorrow.
Amen. I agree with you 100%. Amen.
And that's why we have to work together. Thank you, Rosanna. We have to work together to help solve each other's problems so it's not our problem tomorrow. And if you as a landlord... Yes, we are.
We've got to support each other, and we have to stop with the nastiness amongst one another. Let's just put it aside. It's a distraction from the goal at hand. The goal at hand here is to get this moratorium done and over with, not to fight amongst ourselves over nonsense. Just stop it already, guys. Stop with the fighting. Just join forces and keep your eye on the prize, and that is to get this moratorium ended, please.
Yes. Get our rent and recover our property.
Please.
That's what
we need. We need it over. We need our homes back. We need our properties back. Let's just stop it, guys. Please. I'm seeing so much nastiness out there. And I don't like it. I just don't like it. We're all here for each other.
Am I missing some of it? Because I don't remember seeing it all, but
you are. You're missing it. It's happening right now, and it's awful. I can see it happening live, and it's not very nice. It's not very nice. Everybody needs to stop fighting, and everybody just needs to unite and come together. Please. I'm asking all of you, do it for me. If not, do it for yourselves. Do it for me. If anybody has any ounce of compassion for me right now, do it for me. Okay? Everybody just stop it. Stop it.
Okay.
Yeah, and join together and work together. We may have, because we're all passionate and angry about what's happening to all of us, but like I've said on social media, on points that I make on Facebook, if I disagree with you and we have a disagreement, or you may say something that's not in line with the law, I will say at the end of the day, we are all allies and we have to work together. If you as a landlord might be offended because the point that you make may be adverse to the law, and you are personally offended by that, then you have an issue that we can't help you with. Because we are here to help educate and help everyone. And a piece of advice that you give out there will send the landlord down the road of being arrested, being fined, being losing their home. We look up in the best interest of what is in your best interest. And some of you may want to help, and you are helping, but sometimes the information and advice that you give might be a little off of what it needs to be. And if I myself or the president, Rosanna, or anybody else steps in to help you, don't take it personal. Because like I said a few minutes ago, if I knew everything, I wouldn't need anybody on this channel. I wouldn't even be here because I'd be rich and I could care less what happens. I don't know everything. That's why I have a team of people that help. That's why, because the people out there in my world who work for the legislature, judges, we have been consulted by judges. We have been consulted by court staff. We have been consulted by county sheriff's departments on what is going on. That shows that we know our stuff and that we are impartial. If a judge asks us a particular question that they don't know, should they? Well, not really, but I'm not going to say who. But if they ask, I'm going to be honest with them. We're not going to contour the answer to best fit what we landlords want. We're going to be honest with the judge when they ask a question or a court staff. And when we do that, we are in essence helping landlords even more. It is not right for us to share information or advice that may be adverse to what the law allows, like a self-help eviction, changing the locks on the door, turning off the water, because I want my tenant out. I am going to tell you, don't do that, because you're going to get yourself in trouble. You may not like my answer. Well, I tell my clients that I told some today, I don't care whether you like my answer or not. I don't care, because my answer is going to help you, and that's why I'm here. If we here at New York Landlords, YouTube, NY Landlords, Landlords Only, and every other group, if we are not willing to help you, which may be a little, and that bothers you, then you have the issue, and I invite you not to post your question or anything if you don't like the answer that we give. And here on our social media and here on our channel, we are going to be sharing so much more with all of you. There's going to be more. This live stream was great. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be here. We've been doing this now for 2.5 hours. This is great. I can go on and on, but Rosanna needs to spend time with her son. We need to let the press day go so we can get his butt to the computer and do more research.
So he could keep researching for us.
To get more research, to help us do more stuff.
That is for you.
What was that, Rosanna? What did you say to him? I didn't hear you.
That's for him. I'm blowing him kisses.
If I was there, I'd give you a hug. I'd give you a hug if I was there. Absolutely.
Right back.
I think we'd have a blast if we were at my house because I'm an Italian and I'd have you guys over. We'd be eating and talking all night long.
I know you're Italian.
Right.
I'm Irish and Scotch, but your hands haven't stopped. Your hands are going a mile a minute.
Sorry.
I'm the same way. And like Tom said, tenants' rights groups are working together. Landlords need to do the same. Working together is the only way to enact change. And we have to know what we're doing when we do what we do. So then when we go to the legislatures, we have to know our numbers. We have to know our information. If you go to a legislature and complain about something that you don't know about, it makes you look like a fool. and the tenants are very mobilized. We see that Sia Weaver, I've challenged her. I've asked her to debate me, and she won't. Well, maybe she's a coward. Maybe she's afraid of me. I'm okay with that. But admit that you're a coward, Sia, and you know what? An open challenge. Share this with Sia Weaver. Send this video to her. I challenge you, Sia, to a debate that you believe that we should cancel rent, that housing is a right. Housing is not a right. Housing is what you get when you work your ass off to pay for the house that you own or pay for the apartment that you rent. It is not something that we should have to give to you. So see, anytime you want, I'll put aside all of my work. I'll put aside my family. I'll put aside my cat. And I'll debate you any day, any time.
Please let me know when you do that, Matt, because I want to be able to watch it.
Oh, you bet your ass I will.
Okay.
But she won't do it. But I think, you know what we should do? For those of us that are still here and watching, send an invitation to Sia Weaver and Housing Justice for All. Send an invitation.
Diane Yentl is the other one too. Diane Yentl's the other one. She blocked me. She blocked me because I posted my video on her and said, none of what you say addresses any of the issues I'm having. So how do you explain that? How do you explain that I'm a terminally ill person that can't get this woman out of my house? And she blocked me.
Wow.
I've seen that a lot and now we're getting off, but that's okay because we're talking about personal stuff here. I have found that when you do this kind of stuff, that when we put forth, they are so afraid of our points of view and our logic that instead of debating us on this, they just block us. They ignore us. When that
because they have no answers. They can't, there's nothing, nobody even knows what to do with my situation. And that's just for me. But there are a lot of other people that are in very similar circumstances that I am in. And nobody knows what to do with this. Nobody knows what to do with this because nobody addressed it. Everybody's focused on the money, the money, the money, the money. Well, some of us could give a damn about the money and just need these people out of our homes and out of our lives. But nobody wants to address that. And that's the sad part of it. And these folks like Sia Weaver and Diane Yentl, they don't want to address these issues because I have asked them both the same question. I asked Kavanagh the same
But they're socialists.
question. I asked Cuomo the same question. Nobody has an answer.
They do have an answer. They're socialists. They want socialism in America. That's their goal. So
and they do. I mean, look at Sia Weaver.
And
who I mentioned earlier.
is the answer.
Yeah, she wants income-based apartments that is on a sliding scale. You know, and like I said, I was homeless. I lived in the woods, soup kitchen, food pantry, been there, done that. Now I live in a 3,500 square foot house on 5 acres with 18-foot ceilings. I worked my ass off for it, so I deserve it. And there's only two of us that live in a 3,500 5-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom house, but I want it and it's mine. So I would challenge Sia to say to me, well, you don't know what it, well, yes, I do, Sia. I know it's not going to be poor and hungry, having a refrigerator that only had a bottle of soda in it. I know exactly what it's like. And I would give my right to challenge her to a debate.
Do we know anything about her, where she lives, whatever? I mean, is she getting money from people?
Oh, she is and I'm going to pull it up here. She is with the Housing Justice for All. That's Sia Weaver. You're going to see Cancer Rent, Cancer Mortgage, Homes for All. Okay. And that's the organization, Housing Justice for All.
So she's getting paid to do this.
Oh, I think so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because she is the president of this group and the executive director of Housing Justice for All. I've seen her on social media. I've gone incognito when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had a Facebook page, a meeting. And I was there. They didn't know I was there, but I was there. And just to hear her speak just was like, oh, I was so guttural. I was so angry that I wanted to just reach, and I'm not a violent person, even though I pretend to be. I wanted to just reach to that screen and shake her up and say, do you pay your tenant rent? Or do you pay your landlord the rent? Or does mommy and daddy pay for you? But somebody's paying the rent where you live. So are you canceling rent on your own landlord? You know, I want to debate her so bad. And I invite everybody out here who's watching it now or in reruns to invite her and say, hey, Matt Lyman from the Landlord Advocates wants to debate you. I'm even doing it in person. If she wants me to go to New York City, and I gotta tell you, I love the country. My home is an Adirondack home. I do not like busy cities. I'd be even willing to go to New York City and debate you in a college forum. And I'll be like the Ben Shapiro of the landlord movement. And we know Ben Shapiro, great commentator, great YouTubers, great conservative. I'd be willing to do the same thing, but I don't think she'd be willing to, because she can't say to me, I don't know what it's like to be poor. I don't know what it's like to be hungry, because I do. But I digress, because I get so angry with people like her who think that we should just give housing away. Okay, well, let's start with you, Sia. Let's move in people in your apartment so you can fall asleep on the toilet, because that's the only place you have in your room that's yours, because everybody else is sleeping every place else. So I invite you, Sia, put your money in your big mouth where your wallet is. Do that and see what happens. When you want to provide free stuff for other people, then you pay for it. Don't make me pay for it. Don't make Rosanna. Don't make LaPreston. Don't make Tom. Don't make Honey. Don't make Trev. Don't make us pay for it. Oh, let's see. I think we want our property back. Yes, we do, Rosada. Yes, we do. And Tom also commented, when you are a Republican or a Democrat, this should scare you. And it should, but as we know with some people in some political parties, they align themselves with that ideology and they're okay with it. But how long would they be okay with it when their money depletes? And then they're like, oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills?
Yeah.
But, you're the one that voted for this. So don't cry on somebody else's shoulder, because my shoulder can't hold it. But what I'll do is, I want to keep on going, and I have no problem if people want to keep going. If Rosanna and Presley, if you want to stay, you can. If you'd like to depart and have a beer or have a Gatorade in the IM, go right ahead. Representative Presley, you got research to do, because actually, you're putting too much stuff on, because I can't research it all and put it to YouTube. So maybe you might want to slow down. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Oh my God.
I do go days where I don't post anything. You've seen that.
What's that?
I've gone days where I didn't post anything. You've seen that.
Oh, I gotta tell you, is that because you're doing research or you're getting burned down, or both?
I just think that if there's action, if there's activity, we should be prepared. And I'll tell you why everybody gets frustrated with me. Some people are frustrated with me about doing that. They're like, you're not focused on the lawsuit. You're not focused on this. You're bringing us new things that aren't even laws yet. You know why the insurance companies are so rich? Do you know why Walmart and them are all rich? They're reading the upcoming laws and they're reacting to them before they come.
Yes.
So we're just going to play stupid. And then all of a sudden one day, oh, we got to do that now? I want to be ahead of the pack. So I would expect us landlords to be like, you know what? Okay, he posted it. I can still scroll over here and read about the lawsuit. I can focus on this. But in the back of my mind, hey, we got to watch this. Sano does an update on this. Let's see what happens, because you don't know what that next update's going to be. Like you said, registry of your apartment, the change of warrant of habitability. That's a serious change that catches you off guard. You know what they say, starting May 1st, you must have wired smoke detectors. Good luck trying to get in the apartments installing that wire. What are you going to do? Wrap it on the outside of people's walls and let them look at it?
Yeah.
A lot of people can't do it. They got buildings that are historic. They can't just go in and change them. There's so many things involved. So we have to get a heads up and react like insurance companies do, like Walmart does, like car dealerships deal with, like cable companies are dealing with. They're looking at the future laws and they're ready when they come. Trust me, they're ready.
One of the things I said, I was a college commencement speaker. I was on the board of trustees of a college. And one of the things I said in that college commencement speech many years ago is that involvement is the key to education, and education is the master key to success. And when we involve ourselves here on Facebook and YouTube and all of our groups that we belong to and amongst ourselves, that involvement leads to education, which can lead to our success. There are so many landlords right now that still don't know a 3-day notice does not exist in the state of New York. They still don't know. And I want to do it. They call my staff. And my staff says, yeah, they want to do a training. That ended on June 14, 2019. They don't know. They don't know. And I will tell you, and one of these, I think what we can do is we can do a show specifically on the Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act. Even though it's almost 2 years old, there's a lot of that a lot of people don't know.
I agree.
Yeah, and then one of the, I can tell you some of the three main things that I want to get rid of on that is, number one, having to know the names of everybody that lives in the apartment. If you don't have that, they won't get evicted. We should not have to know that because we didn't put them in. That's number one. And number two, we cannot check the names of people who have been prior evicted or in the process of. You can't do that. And the 30, 60, 90 day, I want to make that 30 days across the board. But I'm not going to talk all about that tonight. We're going to take that, you know what, because we can go on for hours more. I'm going to address that, and we are going to address that. And I invite other people, if you want to come on, we'll bring you onto the show. We'll give you the pass key that my friends here have, and we'll bring you on. But I will tell you, when I bring you on, I want you to have substance. I want you to tell us. I don't want you to come on, and I'm sorry about your friends. I don't want you to come on and just bitch. I want you to come on and share, and to get the other people who are watching aggravated enough to say, I got to do something about this, and I got to do something about it now.
That's right.
So that's what we need. And we're going to do on the housing stability. And if you have other areas that you want us to address, send them to me on Facebook. Other areas that you want us to talk about on social media, and we will. You can send them to Rosanna. Send them to the press. They are my allies. They will share it with me. And we will put this to video. We absolutely will. If it means I can do a live stream 2 or 3 a week, I'll do it. But I need participation.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rosanna.
I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight, for sticking with us, everyone that's joining together, everyone that's provided information, everyone that's supported, and honestly, the outpouring of support that I have personally had from almost every member of this group that has reached out to me privately and extended their well wishes and their support, and just kind of sent me a note to say, hey, how are you? It means the world to me. It really does. And I pray every single day for all of us. I want this nightmare to be over for all of us. And I just want to say thank you, because I don't know how I would have gotten through the last year without you guys. I have made some very dear friends from this particular group, and people that I am proud to call friends, and people that I am proud to call extended family at this point. So thank you all. And I'm going to go feed my son now. And
now, Rosanna, when we personally meet with your situation, how tight of a hug can I give you? Halfway, full way, body bear hug?
Give me the biggest, tightest hug, as hard as you'd like, Matthew.
You will get it, sweetie. We will meet in person. We'll meet someplace local, because I'm in the Albany region, and we can meet someplace that's halfway in between. And we can all have a picnic or something.
Absolutely.
We can do that. And that's what we can do, because what we're dealing with is hard on us. But let's get together and have a picnic. We can do that. Everybody brings something. We meet halfway, and do something fun rather than doing this. I was going to use the S word, but I can't on my social media. Instead of doing all this all the time, we can spend time together, get to physically know each other in person, flesh and blood, skin to skin, and know each other. And that may even help us even more to help everybody that needs the help, like Rosanna here.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen. And Rosanna, I'm going to add you to our prayer list at church.
Thank you.
You're an inspiration to me. So with what you're doing.
And I admire everything that you do. And I thank you so much for all of it.
And we'll talk tomorrow, remember?
Yes, we will. Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you,
my
guys.
friends.
Good night.
For those of you,
I'd like to say goodbye too, Matt. Yeah, so
absolutely, my friends.
Okay.
What we'll do is we're going to let them go. If any of you want to stay, I'll stay for a few more minutes. And we'll let our two friends go, because Rosanna's going to spend time with her son. And, the Italian over here might want, I don't know, one of you Italians eat. I don't know.
We have to go.
I'm going to go.
A mangiare.
Absolutely.
I can't speak Italian. Sorry.
My friends.
I can't say buongiorno, Bella.
All right, well, there you go.
Is that because of Lydia Bastianich? Is that why?
No,
That we now Chef Lydia. Okay, everybody here that is here, you may stay and participate.
Good night, guys.
We're going to say good night to our dear friends Rosanna and La Presti. Thank you again for joining
Good night.
us.
Good night,
Good night,
Matt.
everyone. Good night. Okay, my friends, as you can see, we have a few of you that are here. Let me step back here and move my camera down, up. However we do that, we're not done. So you can see, there is a lawsuit, as you well know, that is pending to be filed in the Supreme Court of the state of New York. That can be found at nylandlords.com. And we want you to participate. We know that some of you have left comments and we may have missed you, and we apologize for that. It was not intentional, and you know that. You know how much I care for all of you. Because we do the YouTube videos, we are going to do more live streams. We're going to get more and more involved. If you want to join on a live stream as a guest, you're more than welcome. Let me know in a private chat or on Facebook that I'd like to participate. Let me know what you'd like to talk about, like the Presti did, like Rosanna did. And we can get you in to share your story, as long as it can get people more and more motivated to our cause. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. We talk about the ERAP program in our video, the moratoriums, the oppression that has happened upon landlords because of the government and tenants, because they've been allowed to. Some can say, oh, it's the tenants. No, the government has allowed it by not allowing us to do what it is that we like to do. We talked about the ERAP program. If some of you would like to learn more about this and have us focus the video on one particular topic for a half an hour to an hour, we will, so that you can learn more about it. We absolutely will do all of that for you. Just ask. I can't read your mind. I wish I could, because I'd have more answers for you. But you ask the questions here. You ask them on social media. Now that we'll be doing more and more live streams, you can ask this so more and more people can watch across different platforms. And then we'll see if I left anything out. I don't think I did for today. We have been going now for almost 3 hours, which is happy for me. You'll see at the beginning of the video, we did have a snafu. There was a button up here on the top of the screen that I did not hit, so it wasn't going live. That was my fault. That won't happen. That won't happen again. If there's any more questions or comments, please go ahead. Let's see. Trev just add. Yes. If you have any questions about the lawsuit, you reach out to nylandlords.com or nylandlords on Facebook. Trev has been involved. There's a Marie that has been involved. But the ones who are leading the charge for that is Dima Nozick and Mike Seufer. They are fellow administrators of mine on NY Landlords. They're the ones hanging that up. You have any questions for them? But like we said, Trev, which is a great point that Dima told me the other day, is that if the money is not reached to get to the retainer, the money wouldn't be returned. So if you have any trepidation of that money going away, it won't. If we don't reach the goal that we need to reach, it will be returned to you. But let's not have that happen. Let's have the lawsuit go through. Let's see what happens. Because we can end the moratorium and realize that it should not have been, like the CDC one has been addressed. It may open up the door to the state being responsible to pay our rent. Even though there's that ERAP program out there, that's not going to cover all of the rent. It's only $2.6 billion here in the state of New York. That's not enough to cover all the rent. And it comes with caveats, restrictions, stipulations on it. It should not at all. That money should come directly to us. The declaration is no questions asked. We should be able to prove the money is owed to us with no questions asked after we prove it. Just give us the money. And if we win the one lawsuit, then we will have another lawsuit where the attorney will get his commission from that. And that will be for us to get the money back. But if you don't participate, you will not be a part of that class action lawsuit. And you could lose money on that. So you might want to consider doing that. Contributing to the cause, they're asking for $500 because of the retainer. But if we get more people giving, more people donating, NY Landlords, not so much GoFundMe. I mean, donate there too. But if you donate at NY Landlords, the more that people donate, the less that people have to donate as an individual. But don't expect to donate $20 or $30 and you're going to get an equal share of the pie when that money, if we win, is distributed. You're not going to get. You're going to get the small percentage that you put in. You're going to get a small percentage back. We encourage you to, like Trev says, who's been an early follower of mine on social media and at the Landlord Advocates on YouTube, been an early follower, participate, get involved. These groups have got over 2,000 members. And some of you may like it, but you don't add. You just like the comment. Add your comment. You may think that it's not significant, but it is. It motivates those of us that are very involved to become even more involved. When you ask questions, it makes us want to answer those questions more and more for you. Answer them. Ask the questions. We want to answer them. We still see that we have some people who are watching, and I can go on for hours. If you want me to, I can. Or we can end the show and continue on with our next live broadcast, which will be notified as you have been with this broadcast. If any of you have any questions from our Facebook or from our YouTube, go right on in and ask, and we will answer. We see that Mike Soifer had sent me a comment on Facebook. I cannot see that from here, Mike. So for those of you who have messaged me on Facebook regarding the broadcast that we're doing now, please go to the broadcast, enter your question, your comment, so that I can answer it there, because I cannot go to Facebook right now. I have to stay on this channel. And then we can answer your question there. I don't know what that is. NY Landlords, I don't know what that is. I know it's the @ sign. But you can go to nylandlords.com or @.com, something like that. Let's see. I don't know if we missed any other prior comments that people may have had. But I'm very pleased to see that people are here asking questions, making comments. Feel free. I see that we have a number of people in the live stream. Post a comment, post a question, we'll share it here. At our next live stream, we will probably be doing what's called a giveaway, where something will be given away. Could be a t-shirt, could be 10, 15 minutes of my time, one-on-one, on the phone from my office, where you can ask any question rather here. It could be anything. But our StreamYard, who we are going with right now, StreamYard is our service that we use. We will be giving away, we can have a giveaway. But it has to come when you asking a question, posting a comment. The more people that do that, your chances are less of getting a prize. But I hope that you're not here just for that. I hope that you're here because the prize that you're getting is education. And for some of us, that is priceless. Sorry, I have a problem with my keyboard. That's okay. I forgot my keyboard here with my mouse. So I'm actually working on the laptop in front of me to look at this. If I had my mouse and my keyboard, I could do it without having to reach under the laptop that we're broadcasting on. So don't feel bad. Don't worry about it. Can you bring me to camera? When you say, can we bring you to camera, are you talking about on the live stream itself where you would be seen by the other viewers? We would have to invite you into the room to do that. If it was earlier on and I knew who you were and I knew what your situation was, we could do that. But we've been here now almost 3 hours. I'll take it to we'll take it, for a few more minutes. But you can ask your question here on that. But to bring in the camera, I say this in respect, I don't know who you are. I don't know what your topic may be or what you want to share. So we have to authenticate you before that happens. But you don't need to be on the camera to ask us a question. To bring forth the point of view, you can do it right here. I understand that I will be very short. But again, I say this in respect, I don't know who you are. I don't know you can be a tenant. Hopefully you're not. But if you are, you learned a lot today. But like I say, with respect, I don't know who you are, and I cannot bring you on because Like I said, I don't know. And if you reach out to me and I find out who you are and what it is that you want to talk about, and we get that through, we can put you on to the next live show. But feel free, you can ask your question right here. You don't need to be on camera. Now, Trev has been a friend of ours since day one. If Trev asks to come on the show, I have to see how I can send him that. I can invite him. I can invite Trev right now. I know him. And I can invite him to come on right now if we wanted to. But unfortunately, my friend, you know me from Central. Let me ask, is this Wilson? And that's Wilson. I know that you're a big proponent of the lawsuit, and I know that you had a rally not too long ago. I think it was last Friday in Utica at the Utica State House regarding this moratorium. Okay, Trev, thank you. It is Wilson. Now let me see how I can do this. If I can't, it's not because I didn't try. It says I can invite. And what I will do is, Wilson, I believe, let me look you up here, Wilson, okay? Let me see here. Wilson, you was sent the message on Messenger, so feel free to accept that invitation. You will go into the green room here on live stream on StreamYard. You will go there, and I will be able to invite you into our room. Let's see. I'm leaving it for 1 second. Okay. All you have to do, Wilson, is in Messenger, just click on that box I just sent you. And when you do, you will be into our green room, and I will be able to invite you onto the show. Absolutely do that. Trevor, if you want to do the same thing, you may do the same thing. Wilson, just do me one favor. Change your name, because your name is not Wilson. Your name is Wilson. You see how you had that, my friend? You had Wilson. And I will bring you on. Your mute is, you're there, but I'm not adding. Let me add you in. His name is Wilson, but we have a typo. Wilson, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, my friend. I didn't know who you were and didn't have a thing. So here you are. Wilson, everyone, for those of you that don't know, Wilson is very active as well. He came to the Albany rally when we were in quarantine. He came to the Albany rally in Albany in February. I think it was February 18th. And it was at the governor's mansion. Wilson is very involved in the Central Landlords Association, Central New York. He invited us, and we send our videos to him. Wilson just had a rally, and he was on the news on Friday in front of the Utica State House. Wilson, tell us how that was. How did it go? How did the media react? Were there any tenants there that gave you any crap when you were there? Share with us your experience. Go ahead.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I want to send a message to all the landlords in all these groups. We need to get together in this lawsuit against the moratorium. We need to get together. We need to stop complaining about our own problems on the groups. Give me 1 second to explain myself. We are complaining all the time, this and this and that, but we don't take any actions. We need to support the class lawsuit against the moratorium, because I remember like now when we went to Albany, it was a cold weather. Today's 100 degrees and nothing changed. We need to get the professional people to do the lawsuit and stop complaining. I was telling Mike, we need to start getting small people together. Long Island. Who is in Long Island? Get you people together. Who's in upstate New York? Get you people together. Who's in Albany? Get you people together. United, we stand. If we continue complaining, when you are complaining about this problem, You are talking to another landlord, so we are not gonna do anything on your problem. Our problem are big problem. We are gonna lose all our properties if we don't take the right action. So let me tell you this. In Central New York, we are bringing the Bosnian together, Latinos together, African American, Muslim, everybody together because we are all landlords. This group are not for complaining about your problem because we all have problems. I mentioned to you, I have a tenant who owes me $15,000. Who cares? Nobody cares. You know what cares? That we get together for the class lawsuit against the moratorium. This is what we have to do. But we cannot get different results by doing the same thing. What we are doing, complaining all the time. Complaining your problem. Your problem, nobody cares. We are not taking a solution individually. We need to get together. Mike have a GoFund, go there and put $20, $50, $100. Put some money there. You know why? Because at the end of the day, we will show you how we spend the money. We are all professional. We are all suffering. You know what I mean?
If we show
people complaining all the time about their problem, but they don't give any solution. The solution is together, Russian.
Yes.
Anybody, it doesn't care your race, doesn't care about your skin color. What cares is that we are all landlords. And
one of the things, Wilson, that we've had in our office, we have landlords that will come in and they will share their problems and their stories, and we fully understand. But we've had ones, and we asked them, when was the last time you called the governor, your state senator, your state assembly person? When was the last time? They never have. And I said, well, when you're not a part of the solution, then you're actually a part of the problem. You're not helping the cause. You gotta call them up and let them know how awful these are. Even if it's somebody that voted for them, they're gonna realize, oh my God, I have more people calling to complain about what I voted for. Then, because they don't hear the complaint, then you are tacitly agreeing with them. And you don't want to agree with them. You want to let them know how bad it is. And like Trev said, and you said here, Wilson, any money not used in the lawsuit will be refunded. So the lawsuit is not filed. As I understand, the money will be returned to the landlord. So you're not lending the money. You have proof that you sent the money. You have proof. If you want to send on GoFundMe, I've never done that. I think there's proof that you gave the money. I know when landlords or clients pay me through PayPal, I have proof that they paid. So you have money that way. But when you go to NY Landlords and you pay by credit card, you have proof that you paid by credit card. So you have that. So you have proof that you paid. And you're going to get the money back. If you don't get your money back, then the organization will fold. There will be issues there. They will need to get money to defend themselves, meaning our group, NY Landlords, will have to get money to defend themselves for not giving you the money back as they speak. So, typically, like we said earlier on in our chat here, is that by fighting now, we fought back in May and June. That was too early of last year. Now it's not. It's 18 months, 16 months later. The dynamics of the lawsuit from May of last year when it was filed in Westchester County on May 27, 2020, the dynamics of that lawsuit have changed now on June 7, 2021. So what Wilson is saying passionately, he is saying, you complain a lot, not percent Wilson, we have thousands of people across many landlord groups. I belong to some groups that have 30 and 40 and over 100,000 members of real estate investors, landlords, property managers. But how many of them are actually here now helping the cause? There's not. And for those of you that are, you know I'm not talking to you. You know that Wilson is not talking to you. We're talking to those who do not participate, but complain about what happens to them. Well, we can complain too, but we have grounds to complain because we're taking action to stop that, which is being done to us. And Wilson, that is what you're saying, are you not? Wilson is saying, oh, you mute yourself, Wilson. You are saying that yourself, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
if you're not going to join and help us, don't complain. Don't complain.
Right.
If you're getting rained on and don't open an umbrella, I've seen people walking around the street, and I've done this. I literally have done this. They're walking down the street. It's raining heavy. I walk by with an umbrella, and you know what I say to them? This is a wonderful invention. Don't bitch about getting rained on if you don't have an umbrella over your head. Don't bitch about the transgressions and oppressions by the government that have been put upon us landlords if you're not going to do something about it. Do something. Not Wilson is saying, not Trev has said. Let our fellow administrators and moderators and NY landlords do something about it. To go to social media and share your story repeatedly. Yes, we understand, but take it to the next level and share that with your legislators. I've done Zoom meetings with Brian Kavanagh. There's another one, an assemblyman, I can't remember his name in New York. I've done a Zoom meeting with him. I've done it with small, the small property owners of New York, Spotty. I've done it with them. I've done that. If everybody did that, holy crap, can you imagine the impact that we would have? Wilson, when you look at the one that we had in Albany, you had about, 45 people at that rally?
We have in Albany, we get people from everywhere. Listen.
But how many people were at that rally? How many were there?
About, I might say between 30 and 35 people.
And it was bad weather.
Matthew, listen to this. It doesn't matter how many people you are bringing.
I know.
Listen to this. Some people don't want to show up because it's a cold weather. Now, some people don't want to show up because it's a hot weather. But listen to this, Mike. With only 10 people, we call the attention of the media.
Yes,
every time. We call the attention of the media. Let me tell you, Matthew, the judges, all the judges, they see what we are doing. They see that we are protesting. And let me tell you this. I'm from the Dominican Republic. The foundation of this country was when the colonies say to Great Britain, no more taxes without representation. We get independent from Great Britain. We are going back to the history now.
Yes,
in the
we are.
1600s, we pay the property taxes, and we cannot evict these people. These people are getting $300 a week, plus the unemployment, plus working out of the book. And when you ask them for the rent, you know what they say? My daddy Cuomo said that I don't have to pay.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I
I know somebody that was looking for an apartment the other day.
Let me tell you this, Mike. Let me be honest with me, okay? You are a low-income employee, and you are getting $900 to $1,000 a week, and I offer you a job. Would you take it?
I wouldn't.
For the same amount? No, you won't take it.
Hell no.
No, they are in the comfort zone. They are in the comfort zone, and we are not.
I know a kid right now. I know a young man right now who is, he went to Walmart. He's not there anymore. He gets $100 a week from state unemployment and $300 from the feds. He's bringing home $1,600 a month. He's like 18 years old. He hasn't finished high school yet. He's bringing that kind of money, $1,600. He's never seen that kind of money in his life. So when he wanted an apartment, he mentioned that the girlfriend makes $1,800. She works. He makes $1,600. Now, could we tell him that we can't consider that as income? No, we can't. The law says that we have to consider that as income for him to be qualified for an apartment because it's income.
Matthew, I apologize. I have a meeting right now.
Oh, that's fine. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you go. It is now, we've got our 3 hours. We're going to have another show probably in another week, maybe less, or probably a week. And we're going to invite more people on and we'll have more topics.
You take care.
So, Wilson, thank you for joining and thank you for sharing. All right, bye-bye now. Landlords, we thank you for watching. We thank you for participating. We will have more shows. You can visit us at the NY Landlords. NY Landlords on Facebook. Landlords only on Facebook. We're very active on both of those. You obviously can see, welcome to the Landlord Advocates. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We are going to put more videos up. We have one coming up shortly regarding Michelle Hinchy, a New York State senator from the Hudson Valley region. We're going to talk about her and some of her ideas regarding the eviction moratorium. But I hate to say goodbye when people are in the room, but I'm going to say goodnight. I thank all of you for participating. We are going to do more shows, I promise you. I'm not going away. We're on, I'm not going to say Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter. You can find us there. We are very active. We're going to be active probably on Facebook in a little bit. But occasionally I do need to sleep. And the bedroom is calling my name. And because I have to be up early, I'm usually up by 5 o'clock every morning. We thank you for watching. You know that we here and the landlord advocates are here with you. You know that we're here for you. We know that we care about you because we're one of you as well. I'm a landlord too. I have multiple properties and I'm being hurt too. So let's watch for our next show. We're going to share that on social media again so you can watch. Set the reminder so you know. We're going to give you more time than just one day. We're going to give quite a few days so that people can schedule that in to be on our show. We're going to have other guests come on. But until then, landlords, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. You can see it right here. Thank you for subscribing to the Landlord Advocates on YouTube. Until then, you have all of you have a wonderful and safe night. Good night.